This may be the fourth year that the NASCAR Nationwide Series has come to compete in Mexico City, but NASCAR's connection to racing in Mexico actually goes back half a century. 1950, NASCAR founder Bill France Sr. teamed with Curtis Turner to co-drive in the very first Mexican road race. Now, this racetrack here built in a city park in 1962, named after the Rodríguez brothers. Ricardo Rodríguez stunned the Formula One world by qualifying second in his debut in the 1961 Italian Grand Prix. Older brother Pedro won twice in Formula One and made 6 NASCAR starts with a best finish of 5th in the 1965 World 600. Well, the fans here know they're about to be treated to a thrill of watching some of America's best stock car drivers. But yesterday, 2 of those stock car drivers, Carl Edwards and David Reagan, treated themselves to a little behind-the-scenes tour of Mexico.
So I'm Carl Edwards. We just got done qualifying at Autódromo Hnos Rodríguez. My buddy David Reagan, we're in Tepoztlán, and we're going to the top to see a pyramid that's called Teposteco.
You can't quit when she's passing you. The pink hat and the ponytail.
We finally made it. Probably took us, what, an hour to get up here?
It's really nice up here. We met some people from New Mexico, in Mexico.
Yeah.
And it's been a fun trip.
Well, Carl has his shirt back on, and, you know, I want to know after the hike, who was more winded, you or Reagan?
Well, Reagan's in pretty good shape. Yeah, he had his shirt off the whole time. He just put it on when the camera was on, and I just went all out, and we just had a good day. I mean, that's fun, and the culture here, it's an honor to be able to come here and do this, and we always have a good time, and that was definitely fun. I did notice that the security that came with us, that they told us was going to help secure us. When the cameramen couldn't keep up, they left the security with the cameras, so I knew exactly where we stood in ESPN's eyes, but we did have a great time.
Fantastic. You're a good tourist. You're also a good road course racer. How good is your car this weekend?
I think this Water Smart Fusion is actually pretty good. I don't know if we're as good as the 3M Fusion there in front of us. Colin's really good, Scott's great, and Boris is doing a great job. So if I can be racing with those guys with 5 or 10 to go and have a chance to win this thing, that'll be a great race for me.
You'll try to climb this mountain this afternoon, guys.
Carl Edwards finishes in the top 10 in all 3 events here, and he certainly knows it, and these fans know where you can pass on this course. So let's show you, using some tape from last year's race, there are 3 key passing zones here at the Autódromo Hnos Rodríguez road course.
One of the best passing zones is definitely get down to the turn 1, under braking. Drive down, get underneath the guy, hard on the brakes, out brake him, getting into turn 1. That's one great spot.
As we go through the S's, slow part of the course, 3 opportunities to cross the guy up, get the preferred line, complete the pass, and go on.
Now, another one I really like is the entry at turn 7. You're down the long back straightaway, a lot of speed, and as you get to turn 7, you can see Juan Pablo Montoya last year really gets down low, keeps the car down low, makes the pass. That's another good one.
3 good passing zones here on a very demanding 2.51-mile road course. Now, this guy's not worried about making passes. He wants to keep them being passed. Let's get down and talk to our pole sitter, Mike.
And the Cinderella story so far, Doc, Colin Brown winning the pole in just his 3rd Nationwide Series start. What's this been like for you?
Well, it's been fantastic. You know, Carl Edwards and Boris said those guys have both been helping me out tremendously. So I want to thank them right off the bat. And you know, this whole 3 and 4 Fusion team is doing pretty well so far. We were quick in practice. Obviously got the pole here today. So we're looking forward to a strong race. It should be a lot of fun. The guys have been working their butts off, and I'm looking forward to it.
Doc?
Thank you very much, and that's the big story. This young man, 19 years of age, and the big question in the garage area, can he handle the pressure? Some very hungry and experienced drivers starting around him. Well, let's go down trackside for pre-race ceremonies, beginning with our invocation in Spanish.
Amable público, ahora vamos a tener la bendición católica a cargo del reverendo padre Francisco Javier Guzmán Carreño, vicario de la parroquia de Nuestra Señora de Fátima. Les pedimos que se pongan de pie y que se quiten las gorras, por favor, para esta bendición que nos va a hacer.
Dios grande y misericordioso, que ni la distancia puede decir, siervos que confían en ti, donde quiera que se hallen, dígnate ser su guía y compañero a lo largo de toda esta carrera, que no les dañe ninguna adversidad, que ninguna dificultad se les oponga, que todo lo sea ventajoso y próspero, para que, amparados por tu mano, alcancen felizmente sus justos deseos, que es la meta. Y yo los bendigo en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Suerte.
Muchas gracias al reverendo padre Francisco Javier Guzmán Carreño. Y en este momento daremos comienzo a nuestra ceremonia cívica. Para el presente acto contamos con la participación de la escolta de bandera integrada por oficiales de seguridad del grupo de CIE y la banda de guerra de la Policía Bancaria e Industrial. Agradecemos a nuestro amable auditorio ponerse de pie para iniciar este acto cívico que tendrá...
Up next is the Mexican flag honors ceremony. It is one of the storied traditions in this country and takes place before each and every major sporting event. There is a bugle serenade followed by the unfurling of the Mexican flag and then the anthem. Let's listen in.
Bueno, ahora vamos a continuar. Con Pablo Montero, uno de los máximos exponentes de la música ranchera, además de unos actores protagonistas de la telenovela de mayor audiencia, Fuego en la Sangre, quien será el encargado de interpretar los marciales notas de nuestro glorioso himno nacional mexicano. Les agradecemos que canten con nosotros. Y Pablo, por favor.
Mexicanos a grito de guerra, el acero aprestad y el bridón, y retiemble en su centro la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Y retiemble en su centro la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Ciño patria tus sienes de oliva, de la paz el arcángel divino, que en el cielo tu eterno destino por el dedo de Dios escribió. Mas te osare un extraño enemigo profanar con su planta tu suelo. Piensa, patria querida, que el cielo un soldado y cada hijo te dio, un soldado y cada hijo te dio. Mexicanos al grito de guerra, el acero aprestad y el bridón, y retiemble en su centro la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Y retiemble en su centro la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón.
Sí.
And now the national anthem of the United States of America.
Escucharemos el himno, la interpretación del himno de los Estados Unidos a cargo de Juan Navarro. Es el tenor mexicano que ha participado en obras de teatro a nivel del Fantasma en la Ópera, en Broadway, Los Miserables, Jesucristo Superestrella y otras. Juan.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars to the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting air, gave proof the night flowers still there. Oh, say those are star-spangled banner yet wave, or the light of the free, or the lamb of the brave.
Muchas gracias, agradecemos a nuestro presidente.
When you look beyond the impressive numbers of Mexico City, you think about its proud people, you think about its rich heritage, and of course you think about its spicy food. So when we return, we're going to turn up the heat and make it a little spicier here with some NASCAR stock car racing south of the border. Stay tuned.
Señores, calienten los motores.
Bandera verde. Rosales, correr.
Problema en la curva 1.
Precaución.
Un perro con suerte.
Verde, blanco.
Cuadros.
Línea de victoria.
Bienvenidos a México. Están viendo la NASCAR en ESPN.
We welcome you to our coverage of NASCAR Nationwide Series racing from Mexico City, Mexico. Yes, the NASCAR Nationwide Series has gone global. Now, a week ago, we were in Phoenix, Arizona, or Avondale for you purists. There we were in the desert, on the Desert Mile, but now we have moved south some 1,539 miles to the heart of Mexico City. The Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez road course about 15 minutes from downtown Mexico City. Rusty, a 2.518 mile 8-turn course. Take us around it.
Well, right now we're in the start-finish line going on into turn 1. It's a very fast portion of the racetrack. We're in high gear. Entering turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. We're still in the second gear right now. Down in the third gear, back down to second gear, through turn 4, and through the very slow S's, your second gear, all through this portion. As you exit turn 6, it's third gear, fourth gear. Now into turn 7, back to third gear, and back to the start-finish line. At this point, back into high gear. And that's a lap around Mexico City.
And here's the race course we're talking about, opened in 1962. The elevation, we are in a plateau in the mountains. We're over 7,000 feet up. Named after the Ricardo brothers, or the Rodriguez brothers, or Ricardo and Pedro Rodriguez. Yes, Formula One, champ car, but everybody's been here, and now NASCAR comes for the 4th consecutive year. Original forecast was for rain in the area, but that is not the case. A little bit of an overcast, partly cloudy, but a beautiful day for NASCAR racing. Temperatures in the mid-70s, track temperature almost 140 degrees, and a light wind out of the southwest. Well, today's field certainly has an international flavor as drivers from 6 different countries are represented. There are 6 drivers who are natives of Mexico, including our in-race reporter, Adrian Fernandez, and a young 21-year-old road racer, Antonio Perez, who qualified 10th. Now, it's been said in the garage area that if this kid Perez were to win today, this city would erupt. Remember, folks, there has never been a native Mexican driver to win a NASCAR race. And Rusty, that car is pretty familiar.
That is. That's a car that I drove here and finished 6th in back in 2005, and a real good hot rod. I should have kept it probably, but he out-qualified our cars. I think he's 10th in today's field. Great job out of him.
Yeah, soccer may be king in Mexico, but auto racing becoming a very close second. A lot of fans watching these 6 drivers from Mexico, hoping one of them can come through. Well, it's time to get this thing in ready. So let's go down trackside for the command, because the drivers are buckled up, the fans have moved in, and we're set for NASCAR stock car racing in Mexico City.
Bueno, pues ahora tenemos la presentación del presidente y dueño de Chivas y el grupo OmniLife, Jorge Vergara, quien es nuestro Grand Marshal de esta carrera, y Angélica Fuentes, directora general de Chivas y el grupo OmniLife. También las estrellas honorarias de este evento, que son Luis Ernesto Michel, portero de la Selección Nacional y de Chivas, y Héctor Reynoso, defensa de este gran rebaño sagrado. Nuestro arrancador honorario, Jorge Vergara.
Gentlemen, start your engines. Caballeros, crank him up. Everybody just keep a cool head from the spotter all the way to me. If I get too loud, I holler, and y'all pound on me, straighten me out. I ain't too old and fat to whoop.
Engines have fired on pit road. Now our in-race reporter, Mexican native and fan favorite Adrian Fernandez, has had a very hectic last 4 days, flying back and forth across the country to Long Beach, California to compete in the American Le Mans Series race. All total, he has spent 17 hours in his own airplane, over 6,000 miles back and forth, where he finished 6th in Long Beach last night. Got back about 2 o'clock this morning here to Mexico City. But because he missed qualifying, he will have to start in the rear of this field. He had David Green qualify the car. Now let's talk to Adrian Fernandez, who, by the way, turns 45 years of age today.
Adrian, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
Yes, I got you, Rusty.
Adrian, you've got a tough job today, but what are your biggest concerns as you drive this car up through the field?
Well, my biggest concern will be to really keep my nose clean. And it's a long race, a lot of things can happen. But the biggest concern is really to have the car balanced right for the end so you can fight for the win.
All right, Adrian, we've got an ESPN mailbag question. How do you mentally prepare for the challenge and pressure of racing a stock car in your home country against the NASCAR's best drivers and a veteran road course specialist?
Well, there's always a lot of pressure, but I try to do the same thing I always do. The Mexican fans, they just give me an extra boost. So I feel very confident. I feel proud to be a Mexican and to have the support of our fans. And, it's just a pleasure to be here.
All right, Adrian, we'll be talking to you later. And hey, buddy, by the way, happy birthday.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, my friend.
Adrian Fernandez getting ready to go through the field, and the guy will be calling the shots for him on pit road today, his crew chief, Chad Walter. Let's speak with him.
Chad Walter, Ray Evernham, ESPN, you got me?
Yes, I got you, John. Yeah, Ray, this is Chad. How you doing?
Doing good, Chad. We just heard from your driver how he plans to get back to track position that you've lost from having to go to the rear. From a crew chief's perspective, how are you going to do it?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a tough situation, but, track position is very important, especially with these road courses, Ray, as you well know. We're just going to have to try and do something early, get Adrian in here, get him full of fuel, and hopefully get him out racing the racetrack instead of racing a bunch of cars, and hopefully the track position game will work out for us at the end.
Well, I hate to ask you this question, Bud, because we've all been there on the NASCAR mandated vacation. Is it easier or harder for you to come back to this road race versus if it would have been an oval?
It's always easier to come back than it is to leave, first of all, Ray, and you know that. We all know that. I like road racing. I get excited about coming to road racing, coming to Mexico and representing Lowe's and Junior Motorsports in front of all these Mexican fans for Adrian Fernandez. And, man, I just love road racing, so I've had a little extra time to prepare for this one. Hopefully it'll all work out.
Thanks for your time. Good luck today.
By the way, that NASCAR mandated vacation was a 6-week suspension by NASCAR for a rules infraction involving the rear deck lid and spoiler of the car number 5 at Daytona in the season opener. If you guys are worried about Adrian Fernandez coming from the back to the front, folks, he did it in 2005, started at the back of the pack and passed Scott Pruitt for the lead, so it can be done. Back in just a moment. The NASCAR Nationwide Series at Mexico City is presented by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. And in part by Aaron's, with over 1,400 stores nationwide. Everyone is a lucky dog at Aaron's. And by the U.S. Navy. Navy, accelerate your life. Let's take a look at the starting grid here today. 19-year-old Colin Brown becomes the 4th different pole sitter in his many races here for NASCAR in Mexico City. And folks, he did it in only his 3rd career start. And let's talk about some road course pit strategy. Ray Evernham, normally on an oval, it's a little difficult to calculate, but not so on a road course. Now, how do you figure it here?
Well, Doc, at this place, we can pit without losing a lap, unlike the oval. So you want to get in, get your service. What you think you've got to look at is the race is 80 laps long. Now, even though last year we had a 22-gallon fuel cell, this year we have an 18-gallon fuel cell, it's still a 2 pit stop race. You want to make your first pit stop at 15 to 17 laps. Your second pit stop is going to be at 45 to 47 laps and get done. Pit early, beat the cautions, and maintain that track position. And by the way, there's going to be some guys that are going to gamble on cautions in the last segment. So you could see last pit stops as early as lap 42 or 43.
And if they gamble, what happens? Remember, we can do a green-white checker, can go over the race limit we did a year ago, and that could cost you if you're really, really close on fuel. Now, if a driver tries to save fuel, like Adrian Fernandez, folks, we can show you what he's doing because today we have a camera on his feet in the floorboard. You'll be able to watch him as he turns the steering wheel and works the pedals.
You'll see him modulating that throttle, touching the brake back and forth, and there's a good way to save gas too. If they get out of throttle early and coast into the corner a long ways without picking that throttle back up, they can save fuel there. Now this is something that's going to happen late in that run.
There are 6 other high-definition onboard cameras. We'll be riding with Mike Bliss. Starts 24th at Miccosukee Resorts Chevrolet. Mike Wallace starts 19th in the Geico Toyota. Patrick Carpentier 7th in the Auto Value Parts Store Dodge for Gillette Evernham. Eric Darnell 14th, a City Financial Ford. Brad Coleman 13th, the Carino's Italian Grill Ford. And Jason Leffler starts 36th, the Great Clips Toyota, carrying our fresh from Florida onboard camera. Now, what about the parts and pieces you've got to take care of if you're going to finish the day on a road course? To tell you what they are, let's go down and visit with our professor in the Chevy Cutaway car. Here is Tim Brewer.
Coming into Mexico City, we want to touch on 3 topics. First of all, this is the tapered plate. What that does, that takes 80 horsepower out of the engine. What that did, that changed my shifting points as far as my transmission is concerned. I really have to stay on the driver, making sure that he takes care of this transmission all day. But where I think the race can be won is coming in here with a superior brake package. What that's going to do, that's going to enable you to outbrake the competition getting into turn 1. And if you can outbrake him getting in there, lead him all the way back around the course, you get to the finish line first on the last lap, you just won the race in Mexico City.
Thanks, Tim. Great information. Now, before we go green, let's discuss the rigors of road racing here in Mexico City. First, here's Vince Welch.
Doc, this circuit here at Mexico City is at an elevation of more than 7,300 feet. And I can tell you that for most of us, we feel the effects of that elevation simply walking up a flight of stairs. But the drivers I talked to said they don't feel the effects of the elevation in the car, at least not physically. But they do feel the effects mechanically. The thinner air creates less downforce. Also with the elevation, the engines produce less horsepower. Less downforce, less horsepower makes it more difficult to get off these corners. And when you can't get off the corner, that makes the need for that all-important pass very risky. Mike Massaro.
And Vince, with the rigors of road course racing comes increased opportunity for driver error. First, braking. These drivers have to be very smooth and careful not to lock up their wheels, otherwise they could easily flat spot their tires. But perhaps more critical, shifting gears. Drivers will shift 6 times per lap, 500 times per race. And if they miss a shift, that could lead to what they call here in Mexico City, muchas problemas, doing damage to the transmission, the drivetrain, and the motor. If any of this occurs, they're in for a very long day here in Mexico City. Dave?
Mike, for the average person, the thought of playing a sport opposite-handed is crazy, but that's exactly what the crews are going to be asked to do this afternoon. Check this out. Here in Mexico, as the cars pit and race, they go in the clockwise direction, which is the opposite of what you see on the bottom of the screen, a typical oval. Now, the crews jumping off the wall and going around the car in the front, they normally make a right-hand turn. But here in Mexico City, they'll jump off the wall and make a left-hand turn. That takes them off the rhythm just a little bit. It can add time to what they're doing. It's just one more challenge that the crews have here today. Jerry?
Thank you very much, guys. And by the way, another one of our normal pit reporters was at a different racetrack this weekend, and we send our congratulations along to our Jamie Little. Yesterday, she competed in the Pro Celebrity Race as part of the Long Beach Grand Prix weekend festivities. That's Jamie taking the lead there in the silver car. And guess what, folks? She bumped and she rubbed, but she won the race. And she finishing second, by the way, former NASCAR truck champion and Cup Rookie of the Year, Mike Skinner. Congratulations to Jamie Little. All right, guys, the car's getting ready to crank up here. This racetrack, 80 laps around, 201.44 miles. Pit road speed. It's going to seem like it takes forever to get down pit road, 35 miles an hour. There's the pit window, and again, 8 turns, most of them high-speed turns. What about your sleepers, guys, that we may want to watch that could be a factor today?
Well, Jerry, I got to say, my sleeper is going to be Patrick Carpentier driving the 9 car. This guy ran great in Montreal last year. He doesn't really consider himself a professional road racer, but he looks pretty good to me.
And Jerry, the guy that I'm going to go with is a guy we haven't talked about, another road race ringer, Mad Max Pappas. Finished 3rd right behind Patrick at Montreal. He's got a good car starting back in 17th. He's got a good plan to get to the front.
4th consecutive year, NASCAR has gone south of the border. The NASCAR Nationwide Series goes global here in 2008. A 19-year-old on the pole, and one of the most experienced veteran road racers in sports beside him. Can Colin Brown hang on as the green flag waves, and we're underway in Mexico. One of the passing zones you talked about here in turn 1, and Brown gets the advantage. Looks like Kyle Busch tries to move to the inside, but now has to fall back in line.
Well, I'll guarantee you that turn 1 was on everybody's mind. They had to get down in their single file, Jerry, so they didn't spin somebody out. But right now, it looks like it's a pretty clear run through turn 1, through turn 3. Now they're exiting turn 3.
Heading up to turn 4. Double turn here, and 1 car off the course. That's the 24 car, former Trans Am champion, Brian Simo. Remember, on road courses, guys, you do not get a yellow flag when 1 car spins off somewhere on the course.
Yeah, right now, no caution for Brian Simo, and that's not really good because he's going to be so far behind the field right now. He's going to want a caution later on and try to get caught back up.
And you see these guys are trying to get single file. You know, the first lap, they really don't have temperature in the brakes and things like that, and that's how they end up getting in the back of one another pretty quick.
You see him exiting turn 6 right here. This is where they really get off in the dirt. A lot of debris right there. And this was a great passing zone for Juan Pablo Montoya last year. You see Scott Pruitt now trying to make the same pass on Colin Brown.
Here's Pruitt on the inside. Can he get to the inside of the 16 car? Coming out, this is a 3/4 mile straightaway, the longest in NASCAR. It's a drag strip, Ray.
It sure is, and when we measured it the other day, I couldn't believe how long it is. It's longer than Pocono. And I found out talking to Ron Hornaday this morning that with less horsepower, they're actually using more brake because they're driving deeper into the corner, so that's why we've seen some guys locking up some front wheels.
Scott Pruitt takes over the lead there, entering turn 1 in front of Colin Brown. Kyle Busch back in 3rd. Behind these 3, the battle starting to heat up. 4th, 5th, and 6th. That's Boris Said in front of Carl Edwards. Said in the 25 car. Edwards is the 60. Then comes the 2 of Clint Boyer, the points leader.
You know, right now they're at a point in the race. I'd say in about another 8 to 10 laps, these guys are going to be hitting pit road to try to get in their fuel window, Ray. And that is something that, you know, in the previous years, the guys have been pretty kind. They haven't been putting a bumper to anybody, getting off course, anything like that, until at least that was done.
Yeah, Rusty, we could see pit stops as early as 12 laps. Again, it depends on how much a guy wants to gamble at the end and how much he knows that his driver can save him. We were talking about that long straightaway, knocking a couple hundred RPM off could save you a half a lap.
Patrick Carpentier told us in the garage yesterday his car may not qualify very well, but he said, I will be a factor because that car will be very good in the race.
Yeah, the guys have been talking about tight cars here, and Patrick had his car turning good yesterday, and he was just a little bit loose in qualifying.
You know, they're entering turn 7 right now, right on the bottom of the racetrack. And if you can get right to the bottom of that track without that front end pushing you out, this is where you can really gain a lot of momentum. Off at turn 8 right now, you see them accelerating down the front straightaway. And just like you said, Ray, with not much horsepower, these guys are going to drive them really deep into the corners now.
Single file out of turn number 8. Speeds here over 180 miles an hour. Another car off the course, the 0-1. That's Curtis Davis. And the caution flag waving here at the start-finish line because Davis has had some contact with those concrete mosaics on the wall up there between turns 7 and 8.
We saw a couple days ago when some of the drivers actually crashed on the entry of turn 7. They hit those mosaics, and when you hit them, it's like a cheese grater. I mean, it just tears the car all to pieces, Ray.
No, I see that, Rusty, and we talked about that soft wall. It is like a can opener. For some reason, that mosaic gets hold of the sheet metal and just tears it back.
Again now, as you see the safety crew there talking to Curtis, here's what happened.
You see he gets in the corner just real deep. He locks up the front wheels and bam, right into the wall. And I see a lot of oil behind the car, so looks like he had more problems than maybe just locking up the brakes.
2 years ago, we saw, or last year, we saw a 16 car here get one of the Roush Fenway cars just tear the whole left side of the car off.
But Jerry, one thing you notice at this particular track in Mexico, it doesn't have a soft wall. These guys are probably running about 150 to 160 mile an hour getting into turn 7. When you lose it, man, you hit the wall pretty hard. And I know they like to have one here, and I guess one of these days NASCAR will get a soft wall. I don't quite have it yet.
Under caution here, yellow for the first time here in Mexico City. Hard impact for the 0-1 car of Curtis Davis.
Montoya looking, diving to the inside for the race lead. They make contact. Scott Pruitt goes around. Montoya will bring it back onto the racetrack in the lead.
That was just no good, low, nasty, dirty driving.
That's when tempers flared and fenders bounced last year here in the final laps at Mexico City. And of course, Scott Pruitt feeling like this place owes him one. Again, now after those comments by Scott Pruitt, we asked Juan Pablo Montoya what he thought about what Scott Pruitt said. Here's what he had to say.
I found it really funny when he said that, and afterwards he kind of apologized on what he said, and he understands we're racing. He kind of told me, I was expecting you to follow me. I said, I didn't came from 20th place after that, problem with the fuel, to come and finish second after I passed 18 cars. I'd rather pass 19 and win the race.
Well, I'll tell you what, the intensity was really heating up, and he picked turn 1 out of his position to pass. We talked earlier about road rage. Well, he didn't have any road rage, but he passed so many cars, he wanted to get it done going into turn 1, Jerry, and he went for it and just ran out of room.
And what compounds that is them being teammates, because Pruitt's probably thinking, he's not going to try me here, and Montoya probably thought, well, I've got plenty of room for my teammate, and boom, they get together.
And remember, Juan Pablo had 10 lap pressure tires from an unscheduled stop, and he could have had more time to be able to make that pass. Let's check in with Dave.
And of course, the teams had to reconcile the situation too. Brad Parrott, the crew chief, who you see right there next to owner Chip Ganassi, told me that he called as early as he could to Scott Pruitt on Monday morning and told him how bad he felt, and not just that he'd gotten spun, but the team had a chance to finish 1-2, and that was the thing that disappointed Scott, actually disappointed Brad Parrott the most. So called him up, let bygones be bygones, and then they raced twice more later that season in Montreal and in Watkins Glen. They teamed up with Scott Pruitt. So that's all behind him and looking to make it 2 in a row for this team with a different driver today.
Dave, ironically, the Brad Parrott car that Scott Pruitt is in today is the one that Juan Pablo punted him out of the way with a year ago. Maybe Pruitt can get in this car and make it 2 for 2 for the 40 car and Brad Parrott. We are under caution for the first time today. Coming out on lap number 3, Curtis Davis, hard contact. They're going to make some repairs to that wall up in turn 7. Welcome back to the NASCAR Nationwide Series in Mexico City, presented by Kawasaki. We are under caution for the first time today, coming out lap 3. Contact by Curtis Davis into the turn 7 wall. There's the 60 car of Carl Edwards, currently being shown in 5th position. We showed you a little earlier in our show in Countdown that Carl went some sightseeing yesterday, went out to the Mayan ruins, and on the way back decided to patronize his Cup Series sponsor, Office Depot, to pick up some supplies. Here's Carl's visit.
Down at Office Depot in Mexico City. I don't see any Carl Edwards stuff around. I think we should go ask and see if anybody knows who I am.
Do you have any Carl Edwards stuff? NASCAR? No, I speak Spanish.
NASCAR? Other than just kicking us out of the store and not letting us film anything, they were really cool at Office Depot. And they were very nice in the way that they kicked us out. So it was fun.
Carl Edwards trying to patronize his sponsor, just happened to stop by and pick up some supplies.
Hey, you got to make those sponsors happy. If he saw that Home Depot, I'd be in there too. Hey, what's it about? What's going on? What type of stuff do you have down here? But they didn't know him. They just ran him out of there with all those cameras and stuff. I can understand a little bit, but I'll guarantee you, he gets back to those Office Depot guys, probably give a nice apology.
I bet there'll be a big Carl Edwards sign hanging in there next week. Now let's listen into some radio communication between spotter and driver here.
Scott, I can barely hear you. If you can get down on the far right side of that stand, it might help. I can barely hear you at all. All right, I got it. I'm out of your sight, right?
Way out of my sight there, 10-4.
If you can't see me, guys, guys, don't talk to me because I cannot understand anything unless I'm right on you. But drink lots of water.
Yeah, we're all drinking lots of water down here today, and communication's so important, hearing and also seeing. PK, you guys try to get a lot of work done when he comes down the straightaway because it's difficult to communicate on the backstretch, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Actually, for me, it's okay because I got a giant a communication pole up here. But for the guys on the back, we're trying to keep it to where only talking to Carl when there's actual visual sight. So we're not overlapping or it's getting out of his deal. Carl's a little concerned about all the static, so he wants to make sure that they're seeing him and everything's okay then.
Sometimes the guy he can hear the best, he'll repeat, and repetition can make sure they get it right, Doc.
Carl Edwards, 3 consecutive top 10 finishes here in Mexico City. He has yet to win on a road course. Would like to change that here today and become the 4th different winner here south of the border. What a difference a week makes. Next week, we leave the high altitude of Mexico City and head to the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway, NASCAR's largest and quite possibly most exciting superspeedway. Who can forget Bobby Labonte's last lap pass of Tony Stewart there last year, coming off the final turn to take the win. We're expecting another barn burner there, high-speed, high-bank thriller at Talladega next Saturday, 2:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Adrian Fernandez, who did not get to qualify his car yesterday, had David Green qualify the car. He had to start shotgun on the field back in 43rd position. In 3 laps of competition, he has moved all the way up. Fernandez now in 26th position, so he is coming to the front in a hurry. Vince?
Well, Doc, one of the issues with this team, they wanted to pit early because of the fact that they were starting at the back to have an opportunity to make up some ground. But Chad Walters said they didn't want to pit quite this early, so they weren't expecting the yellow just a couple of laps in. So that's why they have not come in on this initial stop as a couple of other drivers have. And plus, Adrian Fernandez having a lot of success picking off drivers coming up through the field.
You see they list him actually starting back in 42nd position, so he has actually gained 16 positions as they come down and get ready to stop the cars here at the start-finish line while the repairs are made. Let's talk to our in-race reporter and one of the most popular drivers in Mexican history, Adrian Fernandez.
Adrian, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
That's Rusty.
Adrian, you picked up 16 positions so far. What's that car driving like? Is it to your liking?
So far I like it. I mean, I haven't really been able to push it clean through a 1 lap because I've been in traffic all the time, and I'm just trying to be as clean as possible because, you know, having a mistake early on in the race is not worth it.
Adrian, where's your best passing zone out there? What corner do you like the most out there to get the passing done?
I think the banking, you know, the last corner 7 and 8, I think that's the best part because you can really pick up the power earlier, and then you can draft towards turn 1, and I think that's the easiest and the cleanest and the safer, really.
All right, buddy. Thanks for talking to us. We'll get back to you later.
Thank you, amigo.
Adrian Fernandez, folks, back in 2005, he started at the back of the pack and came all the way to take the lead prior to having a miscue in the pits that possibly cost him a shot at victory. Pace car now stopping the field here at the end of this long front straightaway to allow the workers to continue to repair the wall, and that's where the oil came out from beneath, or fluids of some sort beneath the 0-1 car of Curtis Davis. And you can see once he got oil into those tires, Ray, there was no stopping that car. He just nosed right into the wall.
Now, once you lose your steering, and again, it looked like the oil basically came out of his car, either a broken oil line or it lost a motor, but it got under his own front tires and straight into the wall.
Yeah, it looks like once that oil jumped out of that car, whether it's a broken oil line or a blown motor like we're talking about, you could see where he tried to get on the brakes, tried to turn the car, and he was just an oil slick all over the place, and knocked that wall back about 3 feet. The wreckers had to come out there and pull the wall back, and it's unlike a concrete wall we're accustomed to back in the States. It moves quite a bit.
And as importantly, they need to get that oil cleaned up or they're going to be fixing that wall again.
This course built way back in 1962, originally for Formula One drivers. Scott Pruitt, our leader. You see there the top 5. 6 of 80 laps are complete for stock car racers here competing south of the border.
Hi, I'm Michelle Jourdain Jr. We're here in Mexico City. This is my hometown. We are in downtown Mexico City. It's called Zócalo, like the square right downtown. This is a monument for the revolution. It started in 1910. As you can see, there's some of Mexico's presidents are buried here. One of my favorite monuments in Mexico City, it's called Angel of Independence, Ángel de la Independencia. Okay guys, after a day in Mexico City, doing some sightseeing, now we're here for the most important part of the day, food. This is my favorite thing in Mexico, mole. Now, when you come to Mexico City, I promise you, you'll have the best Mexican food. Bye-bye.
31-year-old Michelle Jourdain Jr., one of the charismatic drivers from here in Mexico, and a former two-time winner in Champ Car competition. Won 2 events in 2003 where he finished 3rd in the points. His best NASCAR finish did not come on a road course, surprisingly. He finished 10th in a NASCAR Nationwide Series race 2 years ago at Atlanta. So he would like to be able to run more ovals. There's the 32 car of Michelle Jourdain Jr. that's currently sitting in 16th position. Well, another international driver had his share of troubles earlier today, and that's Marcus Ambrose. Let's find out what's going on with him as we visit with his crew chief, Gary Cogswell.
That's right, Doc, and it's been a big disappointment for this 59 team because they had a good qualifying effort yesterday. Were scheduled to start the race 4th, but Gary ended up having to start the race in the back of the field. Why?
Well, we were having some trouble with the clutch. Marcus complained of the clutch wouldn't disengage all the way, and we were afraid that we'd have trouble getting in and out of the pit box, stalling the motor, because the clutch wouldn't release. So we felt like the car was good enough, we could get back up to the front. So we went ahead and took the penalty, went to the rear. We pitted a little bit early, hoping the race will go our way a little bit of luck, and the car is fast enough, and Marcus is just so good. I know we can get back up front, and we just couldn't risk mechanical failure and falling out.
Yeah, and the big question now regarding that clutch is, how's it handling and holding up here in the early stages?
The clutch is still a little bit iffy. It's not as bad as it was yesterday. Car's driving good, water temp's down, driver's head's cool, sponsor's happy, got a lot of fans here in Mexico. And shout out back to the shop. This car was a mess 2 weeks ago. Banjo, Butch, the guys back there, got it together. Here we are running good. Couldn't be any happier.
Yeah, the 59 started 42nd all the way up to 23rd now. Mike Massaro.
And Vince, in addition to the mechanical challenges a crew chief faces at a road course, well, Eddie Perdue has had other challenges getting a rookie driver ready for this event. What have you had to tell him this week?
Well, the 3 and 4 Fusion has been fast all weekend, but Colin's a great road race talent, and it's just keeping him on track and keeping him calm at the beginning of this race so we get to the end and go win this thing.
I think with Colin winning the pole, it surprised a lot of people. What's impressed you most so far this weekend about the way he's approached this?
Well, Colin, like I say, he's got a lot of experience. He's only 19 years old, but he's got a lot of road race experience, and he knows how to go fast in these cars when he wants to.
And you talk about that road course racing experience, guys. Well, he's run here twice before in a Rolex Grand Am Series car and finished 2nd both times, Dave.
Mike standing by with crew chief for Scott Pruitt, who with his wife is an author, and Brad just catching up on a little light reading during the red flag here. But I got to ask you, what happened at the start of the race? Because it looks like, well, you tell me. Your car was 2nd quickly.
Well, it started 2nd. And
it was behind quickly.
The guy jumped to restart a little bit, and he was a little bit on the loose side and everything. So we got by him right out of turn 8 there after the first lap and everything. But the Fastenal Dodge is incredibly fast this weekend. We have a crew here that can get the job done. We fixed all our problems from last year. We don't have a rookie in the car anymore. We have a veteran. Not that that was our problem last year. That was a good problem to have. But no, it's gonna, unfortunately we're in a red flag already, and some guys have already hit pit road, playing a little bit of strategy. Marcus Ambrose went from 36th to 25th in 3 laps. So, we're gonna play our strategy smooth today. We know we got a fast race car. If I get beat on pit strategy, as the guys in the booth would probably say that I may, because I have a fast race car, it's kind of hard. We don't know what the strategy is going to be yet, and we know we have a fast race car.
All right, well, good luck on 2 in a row. Doc?
Brad Parrott certainly has a pretty good history of getting guys to victory lane, and obviously, you know, a little bit of, there was concern last year about some fuel strategy. They had a problem in the back of the car. That's why his driver Juan Pablo Montoya had to come in and make another stop because the fuel vent hose, I guess, came loose.
Yeah, the vent hose fell out of the trunk lid. Next, he had to make an extra pit stop. But I'll tell you one thing: I'm not going to question what he's doing. He's got a fast car. He's up front. Brad's been making some pretty cool calls. So, Brad, I don't think I'm going to be the guy saying he's doing something wrong.
No. And what's good about having the fastest car? When you have the fastest car, you can kind of set everybody else's strategy. They're going to follow what you do. So he's in the catbird seat.
Yeah, Scott Pruitt, by the way, the guy he's got driving that car, pretty darn good on anything that turns left and right. Now, he's got 9 major championships in road racing. Here's his NASCAR Nationwide career, 2 poles. His best finish 5th here, hoping to get a win today. Welcome back to the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Mexico City, presented by Kawasaki. Now, last year here we saw a first-time winner in NASCAR in this race in Juan Pablo Montoya. But last night, halfway around the world, we saw a first-time winner in IRL IndyCar. Congratulations to Danica Patrick. Her 50th career start. There's her mom, Bev, celebrating. You couldn't believe how long they have wanted and waited for this one. A big smile for Danica, driving the Andretti green car, finishing just under 6 seconds in front of Elio Castroneves. And you see Dan Weldon there finishing in 3rd spot. And if you want to hear from Danica, she will be a guest on our coverage later today as we go live for coverage of the Toyota Grand Prix at Long Beach, 5:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2, the final Champ Car World Series event. Remember the merger now for Champ Car and IRL. Final time it'll be called Champ Car at Long Beach, and Danica will be flying over and joining us as a guest to be able to talk about that landmark win for her last night in Motegi, Japan.
Well, you just knew it was going to happen with her, Jerry. I mean, she's been so fast, so many places, and she probably is the best female driver, like I said, I've ever seen in my life. She deserves it.
Could we have a breakthrough winner today? How about a 19-year-old, Colin Brown? Remember, we've had a 19-year-old, you know, already win in open wheel competition with Graham Rahal a couple of weeks ago. Scott Pruitt leads them down as the green flag waves once again here in Mexico.
You see him right now already jockeying for position. They want to get to that inside lane and not get locked on the outside of the racetrack. This is where it gets tight. You see a lot of drivers get out in the grass. Later in this race you will, but good clean run through turn 1 right now.
Flint Boyer jumping on the inside of another car. They're side by side. That's Patrick Carpentier there in the position. That's Patrick in the 6th spot. Boyer in 7th. That's Coleman. Brad Coleman in the Carino's car back in 8th spot.
Now this corner right here on the entry of turn 4, that's a corner where they can also do a lot of passing. Right now they're in the really slow portion of the racetrack, the S's. And it's pretty well follow the leader through there. You want to get, you know, right to the inside where Steve Wallace is right there. Looks like he's right behind Antonio Perez. And that's going to set you up to the exit of turn 6 where you get all that speed.
Perez, who is was the highest qualifying of the Mexican drivers. He qualified 10th, currently being shown in 11th spot behind the 12th car of Sam Hornish Jr.
We see Kyle Busch right on the bottom of the racetrack. That's where we saw Juan Pablo Montoya make all his passes last year. I mean, he went from 20th all the way up into the lead and passed almost every single car on the entry of turn 7.
Ray, if you're the crew chief for the 19-year-old in that 16 car, Colin Brown, what are you saying to him right now about following Scott Pruitt?
Well, I think he followed him for a little while to see what he had, but if you look, he's tried him a couple of times. He's tried him on the outside, the inside. I think he's flexing his muscle. He wants to know, if I got to pass this guy, how easy it's going to be to pass him. And right now, it looks like he's going to make a run at him.
Couldn't learn from a better teacher. You got Scott Pruitt, who's won about anything and everything you could win on road racing. 8-time winner of the Rolex 24 in Daytona, 9 different road racing titles. One car off in the edge there, David Reagan, one of the Nationwide Series regulars, just trying to hang on to a piece of the asphalt.
And that's pretty easy to get off right there. That's exiting turn 3, and you'll slide off in the dirt right there. And now they're entering turn 4. They want to keep it right to the bottom of the track here, guys. Again, this is entering the slow portion of the S's. Pretty well follow the leader through here unless you kind of push the subject and knock a guy out of the way.
By the way, the caution on lap 3, heavy contact from Curtis Davis. Good news, he has been treated and released at the infield care center, apparently having an engine or an oil line come apart and hit that wall a ton up in turn 7.
There's a lot of speculation, guys, that we're at lap 9 right now, around lap 10, 11, something like that. These guys are hitting pit road to get in their fuel windows. They want to get in early. So around lap 42 or something, Ray, they're really sitting in position for this win.
Here's a pretty good battle between pupil and student. That is or actually said pupil and teacher. That's the teacher there, Boris said, in the 25 car, and the guy he taught to be a road racer, Carl Edwards, trying to make the pass.
You know, this is a classic way to make a pass, too. Oh, Boris got off in the grass and almost lost that car. Straight through the grass, through the... He's going to stay in the throttle, and I'll come right back on the track on exit of turn 3.
Well, I believe Boris either wheel hopped or he's got some kind of brake problem because he started to drop back. Those guys caught him pretty quick, and it's really uncommon for him to make a mistake braking. He might have some kind of a mechanical problem.
Yeah, I don't think Boris just drove off in the dirt. I agree with you, Ray, totally. It looks like that car got violently out of control on him on the entry of turn 1. We'll just have to watch and see what happens here now to the car.
Now, the NASCAR rule there is you don't have to come to a complete stop like you do at Watkins Glen. If you go off the course, you just cannot advance your position. And actually, he lost a spot.
Yeah, we saw last year a lot of cars lose it on the entry of turn 1 and continue going on straight. They come right back up in turn 3, Jerry. And you know what? I remember Richard Petty used to do that at Riverside. He actually would shortcut the S's and make up some ground, but that's not what these guys were doing there.
As you can see, they're about to start braking. The nose of the car drops. His car makes a hard left. Tail goes around. He corrects, and now he's missed the corner, so he's got the brakes locked up completely.
Yeah, I mean, that was amazing. When you hit the brakes, the car never turns left and said something caused it, and evidently the wheels hopped in the back. That can happen. And he did a good job saving that thing because he looked like he was goner for a while there.
And you can bet he's turned some brake to the front for the next corner there. And you probably got to think, here we're seeing our first pit stops.
Brad Keselowski, here are the team cars. Brad Keselowski in the 88 and the 5 of Adrian Fernandez, 2 cars owned by Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Those are the gamblers. Either they're getting real good fuel mileage or they're going to stretch it at the end.
Vince.
The 5 car of Adrian Fernandez is in. Remember, he had to start 43rd because David Green had qualified the car. He had worked his way all the way up to 20th. They had planned to come in on this pit strategy at about lap 10, and that's right where we are in order to make up some ground on the field when the others have to pit.
Now, this might be a little bit of a gamble. This is a little bit outside of the calculated window some of these guys were thinking about, but you were talking about rolling the dice anyway if you were a crew chief.
Yeah, and the key thing, they're not really going to get a good fuel reading because we had that red flag, we had some caution, so I'm not sure they're going to know the exact mileage that they're going to need to stretch the second segment.
Oh, by the way, the 41 car was also in Kyle Krisiloff. There's Chad Walters, the crew chief, who called his driver Adrian Fernandez in for that first stop here just a moment ago.
Well, I've just got to believe we're going to see a whole pile of them coming down pit road in a couple laps here. These guys were all talking about pitting early, getting that out of the way. And last year we saw some cars come in like lap 8, so this is pretty scheduled.
And Ray Everdham, again, remind our fans why this happens on a road course. Unlike an oval where pit strategy is difficult to calculate, here it's pretty simple. You start from lap 80 and go backwards.
Right. On a road course, you can pit without going down a lap. What happens on an oval, if you pit early and the caution comes out, you're down a lap. Here, you want to pit early, get done, and hope the caution comes out so everybody else will pit behind you, and you go straight to the head of the class.
So if you could go 30, 35 laps, subtract that from 80, subtract it again, and now you see that between lap 12 to 15 to 18, you can come in and make it on one more stop.
And then you throw in how much do I want to gamble on the cautions at the end. I believe some guys are going to come in with probably 45 laps to go, Doc.
I'll tell you one thing, as a driver, guys, it's awful hard to hit pit road when you're leading the race is give it all up.
Here is a guy that is on the move, Marcus Ambrose. Now, he has said he is putting a lot of pressure on himself to use this day and this race to turn his season around. They have had abysmal luck in the first 8 events. He nearly won a year ago at Montreal. Thought he had the win. The contact with Robbie Gordon took the win away. He says, I am a road course specialist. Remember, he had to start in the back of the pack because of that clutch issue, and he is picking them off one by one.
You know, we were talking to him the other day, Doc. He just has so much confidence. When he was talking to us, he was talking to us like a true road racing professional. Now, guys, you do it this way. Guys, you do it that way. He wasn't at an oval and sometimes lost like he was when he first started. Real confident right now.
Ray is a NASCAR Sprint Cup owner. Not only do you like to see a driver like this that has talent, but he has a great attitude and so much charisma in the way he approaches his love for the sport.
He does, and he does a great job representing his sponsors, too, and that's important. But you look at a guy that's a technician. He's come over here, and he's run very good at some ovals. When he was in the Truck Series, I remember he almost won at Texas Motor Speedway. He's working hard trying to prove that he belongs here.
More pit stops. The 64 car, former Formula One ace, Max Pappas, headed to you, Dave.
And he is going to get a little help for the right-handers there. They'll go and try to make an adjustment for that. Just not happy with the car in that situation. This will be their calculation on their pit stops here at lap 12. Max is driving a lot of things in the next few weeks. He'll drive at Indianapolis. He'll drive at Le Mans. He starts here. And even next week, he's going to go drive a late model. They're having trouble now, guys. Trouble on this pit stop for Max Pappas.
Right front fender damage. Looks like rusty on that car. He's been had some contact with another car.
Outside.
Well, they're not going to go a lap down right here, that's for sure. Max is a great road racer. Looks like he had a little bit of damage on the right front fender. But again, this was a scheduled pit stop, and they took a little extra time pulling that right front fender out. Looks like that's what caused the problem.
Yeah, Mad Max, he got the name driving in the 24 Hours of Daytona. He got in for his last stint with 3 hours to go, and they were 3 laps down, and they said he was driving like a madman. He made up all 3 laps and nearly won. The Rolex 24 came with, it was the closest finish in series history down there, so that's where he earned the nickname Mad Max.
I never knew where that name come from, Mad Max, and you know, this guy's so physically fit, he's so aggressive, does a good job out there.
Colin Brown in the 16 car. If you just joined our coverage, this youngster making only his 3rd start in a NASCAR Nationwide Series car. Spent 5 years as a road racer, 3 years in the Grand Am Series, and you heard earlier he ran both the Grand Am events here last year and the year before, finishing 2nd in both of them.
And he's putting the pressure on Scott Pruitt right now. He's, as I said, flexing his muscles. He wants to know how fast his car is. He's been staying right on him, and when you can do that on a road course, normally that means your car's a little bit faster.
Dave?
Ron Hornaday is a lap 13 taker. Ron told me this weekend he's had to adjust quite a bit to try to adjust his driving style, changing the shifting patterns because of that spacer, Mike.
Horace said it. Now, you saw him get off course not too long ago. Not very much communication as to why that happened. Just saying the car is tight. What they did on this stop was drop the air pressure. They were going to make a chassis adjustment, but Horace called it off.
Dropping some air pressure. How much will that help? Scott Pruitt in the pits in the 40 car, our leader, making his first of what should be 2 stops for the day. 4 tires. We apologize for technical issues, a power outage here at the race course in Mexico City, as we are at lap 17 of the NASCAR Nationwide Series coverage. That young man, the 16 car, is yet to come on the pit road. Colin Brown as well as Carl Edwards now being shown in 1st and 2nd spot. Others who have pitted, Clint Boyer and the 20 car of Kyle Busch. We're going to try to get booted up and repowered. We'll take a break and come back to Mexico City. Welcome back to Mexico City. Patrick Carpentier being shown as the leader right now. He is yet to make his first of 2 pit stops. We apologize for the technical difficulties a moment ago. We had a power outage here at the racetrack, and have been able to get the power back up and get the cameras and everything back on. Now, while we were away a moment ago without power, we'll note that the car of Kyle Busch pitted on lap 14. Your leader, Scott Pruitt, pitted on lap 17. Colin Brown, lap 18, and Carl Edwards a moment ago on lap 19. We're watching for Patrick Carpentier to make his first stop here on lap number 20.
There he is at the cones, 35 miles an hour at those cones. Got to get into his pit, 35 miles an hour. Seems like an eternity all the way down that long pit road.
4 tires, half pound out of both rear tires.
Let's head down to Mike Massaro.
And it's been a challenge for the 9 team all weekend long, Doc. They came here with a setup that was basically established by Boris Said, who last drove it for this team at road course. That setup a little bit too aggressive for Patrick Carpentier. Piece by piece, they put it together. He's very comfortable with the setup right now, saying it's just a touch loose. They're going to make a slight air pressure adjustment, 4 tires and fuel. Otherwise, Patrick Carpentier real happy with the 9 car right now.
Former open-wheel driver, nearly won at Montreal, set on the pole, finished second there last July. Everyone said he would be a factor. A little bit slow on the right side stop.
Look, a little trouble in the rear. Again, one of the things that we use our Nationwide car for is to train guys. It's our AAA series. We're able to bring in tire changers without throwing them out into the Sprint Cup series and get them a little bit of experience.
You know, we talked earlier how he would run so good at this racetrack based on how good he ran at Montreal, and you see he was leading this race. His car is awful fast out there, too. I've been watching the lap times. I mean, he's got a solid top 10 car in speed.
Jason Keller in the 11 car, making his 431st career start, is the leader. Here's the 59. That is a pass-through penalty for Marcus Ambrose. We are being told by NASCAR their crew members were over the wall too soon. Oh, what a terrible break after he had to start in the rear of the field because they had to make an adjustment to fix a clutch issue. As you watch the 11 car making us stop on the pit road, we will again apologize. A power outage at the racetrack here. We lost power. The racetrack lost power, and therefore we lost any ability to be able to communicate with you. We have power back, and so the 11 car, Jason Keller, heads down to Dave Burns.
Jason Keller's had power all weekend, Doc, and has driven this car very well. The thing he's been lacking during this first run is a little bit of handling. Loose in the right-handers. You see the wrench in the rear of that car. That's a track bar adjustment. They'll move that to help the car just turn a little less in the corner, stop it from spinning out for Jason. Pits here on lap 20. Most of the leaders pitted before him. He did stay out and lead 1 lap. He now leads pit road.
Thank you, Dave. And by the way, the 84 car, as you see Jason Keller leaving, the 84 car will be doing a pass-through penalty. Jose Luis Ramirez, they had an outside tire violation. And Rusty, that's one of the new rules this year with NASCAR, where you got to get that tire to the inside. It's got to be attended.
Yeah, and some of these guys just don't have that rule really figured out yet. They're real aggressive throwing those tires around. And that one got out of the box, got a penalty for it. But I'll guarantee you one thing, Jerry, it won't happen again. They'll remember that one.
Scott Wimmer, last time we saw Scott Wimmer on our air, he was headed to victory lane at Nashville, Tennessee. Scott shares this car number 29, the Richard Childress car, with Jeff Burton, who had driven it the last 2 times out at Texas and Phoenix. And now Scott, who will run the bulk of the season, 23 events. He is our leader right now. Vince?
Well, and it's been an eventful day for Scott Wimmer already. You see him at the top of the leaderboard at this point, but the day did not start off well. He was in the medical center early this morning when he got to the racetrack. He had a party of 4 that went to dinner last night. 3 of them ended up in the medical center this morning with the stomach virus, but he, even though wasn't feeling 100%, good enough to get in the car today, and they said they were pretty sure he would make it to the end, and I'm guessing you'll have a hard time getting him out of the car when he's running up in the front.
Well, I tell you, you hate to have to battle a race car on this course as fast as it is and has stomach virus and stomach cramps. But, you know, this Childress team's been awfully good. They won the last 2 road races last year in this series with Kevin Harvick winning both at Montreal and Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and this particular team has also won the Owners' Championship last year, so they know how to get it done. But one thing they don't know how to do is eat at the right places, I guess. These guys are all getting sick. I think they're getting pretty aggressive where to go at night out here in Mexico.
Here's the 1 car, Mike Bliss. You remember Bliss, you know, made a change in terms of where he was driving 3 races ago. His best finish now for James Finch came 6th last week at Phoenix, and he's got some fender damage on the front of that car.
Yeah, a lot of fender damage on the left front of it. Not a big aerodynamic problem here. I'd be really worried about whether or not I was going to rub a hole in my tire. No smoke, so it looks like he's all right now, but it's definitely down on that left front tire.
Yeah, that left front fender is about as close as it possibly can get before hitting the tire, and it's probably going to cost him a little bit of downforce. If that fender was out, that car would probably handle a little bit better.
When you hear Rusty talking about downforce, people say, well, we're on a road course, but after you took Ray and I, Rusty, in the pace car the other day around this course, it is a very fast road course.
Oh, it is, and we definitely needed a little bit more downforce when we were riding with Rusty, but well, I would have paid to do that, but it was, you're right, you know, you stick your hand out a car window, and at 60 miles an hour, it pushes it down, so any little bit you can get, you know, those crew chiefs fight real hard for any little bit of downforce they can get, so they're going to want to fix that fender for sure.
That next pit stop, they'll get it in, they'll get that fender pulled up, because they know it's it's really hurting the speed to leave that fender all tore up like that.
You're looking back at a young man who impressed a lot of people in qualifying here yesterday. Kelly Byers had never been on a road course in a stock car to compete. Now, his teammate Marcus Ambrose helped him a lot, but he did a great job qualifying, now being shown in that 47 car in third spot.
You know, that's another car that's got fender damage. Look at the right front on Kelly Byers' car. It's beat in a little bit, too, and you can tell these guys are all getting pretty aggressive out in the racetrack trying to make passes in the areas where maybe you shouldn't be trying.
Dave?
Guys, that damage happened in the first couple of laps. In fact, during that first extended caution period for Curtis Davis wreck, they came in and they changed 4 tires and they fixed that right front damage. Since then, it's been pretty smooth sailing for the 47 bunch.
A year ago, John Wood was in the 47 car and logged a top 10 finish here. So they have certainly had a history of having good setups here. Kelly Byers just trying to hang on and get some valuable road course experience. 7 drivers who run full-time in the NASCAR Sprint Cup are on hand this weekend, and there's a couple of them right there. David Rudiman running in front of Kyle Busch, and Rudiman certainly has had his hands full here this weekend.
Yeah, early in practice, Doc, it looked like he had maybe a little, he said the car jumped out of gear, rear wheels locked up, and he got in the wall, had to do a lot of cosmetic damage.
Tell you what, Kyle Busch has got a fast car right now. He's already made his scheduled pit stop, and he's pulled this car all the way back up in the 5th position. We saw Carl Edwards leaving for a while. Colin Brown was leading, and he's ahead of all those guys at the moment. So he's lapping this track awful fast at the moment. In fact, that last time by, one of the quickest speeds on the track.
And Rusty, he pitted a few laps ahead of the 60 and 16. You think it was the new tires that got him out there?
Well, it could have been, but you know, Ray, the other day, he was the fastest guy in all the practice sessions. In fact, the first 4 laps of the race, I was watching our monitors up here in their control center, and he was definitely about a half a second faster than anybody in a racetrack. I just think the guy's just got a fast race car right now.
These guys, there's a 25 car, Boris said, again off the course. And of course, Boris, one of the accomplished road racers, and got to be having some issues inside that car.
Well, the brakes are so touchy. Getting into the corner here, again, you just don't see a guy like Boris off the course a lot. So whatever's happening might be happening inconsistently. When he got on the brakes on the straightaway, we saw that thing make a hard left. Cars just don't do that.
No, they don't. Let's see. This is a down into turn 1, real deep in the corner. Oh, they just flat right out of room. It looks like Patrick Carpentier got into him a little bit, couldn't get out of the throttle, and Boris goes around. But
so it wasn't brakes, it was bumpers that caused that speed.
Yeah. Well, it might have been Patrick's brakes.
But what we talk about, road rage? That these guys target these corners to pass in, and they just run out of real estate right there, guys.
Looks like downtown traffic here in Mexico City to me. I can't believe these people get around and don't touch each other, but here they had a little contact. Boris said, by the way, had driven all the way back up to 11th position. Brad Coleman, here's a story. If he wins this race, his sponsor is going to give free pasta at any of their locations around the world on Monday. So a lot of people knowing that kid is racing for ravioli. Lap 26 of 80. Scott Wimmer is the leader. Mike Bliss in second spot. Kelly Byers, then Kyle Busch, David Rudiman, and Carl Edwards. As we are live from Mexico City, Mexico with NASCAR Nationwide action. Welcome back to the Corona Mexico 200 NASCAR Nationwide Series event here in Mexico City. Scott Wimmer being shown as our leader. He has yet to make his first stop of the day. While we were in the commercial a moment ago, one of the faster Mexican drivers did a complete 360. That's the 86 car of Antonio Perez. And watching this loop it around a la Joey Chitwood style, the old thrill show driver. And the traffic gets by, he puts it back in gear and drives away. Let's take you to our nationwide up to speed, and let's talk a little bit about the leader. Here's Vince Welch.
Well, Scott Wimmer is the leader on lap 27 of 80, and he is in the car for the first time since he won at Nashville and was pretty confident coming in to the event today. He was 30th here last year, but had an early flat tire and some engine troubles, so they felt they were much better than the result showed. In the second place position is Mike Bliss, and Bliss has 3 top 10s already this season, but this is his first race here. They were overheating early. They came in, pulled some tape off, but they're fine now, although still a little bit loose. Let's go
to Mike Massaro.
Well, Vince, as we've seen so many times already in 2008, Kyle Busch, one of the more aggressive drivers in NASCAR. However, when it comes to road course racing, aggression, not always the best thing. That's why Dave Rogers had a very candid conversation with Kyle a few weeks back about that aggression. At Atlanta in particular, that's where Dave Rogers saw a change in Kyle. And he was enabled to really pace himself, calm himself down. That's what he's done all afternoon so far here in Mexico City, and it's paying dividends so far. Dave?
One of the things that can win you a race in Mexico City or on any road course is watching how you shift. And the motor tuner for Carl Edwards, his name is Troy, he told me this weekend that Carl is one of those guys who you can count on not to over-rev the car when downshifting. And that's important because they have a rev-limiting chip when they're going up through the gears, but when they're downshifting, it's all up to the driver to time it just right and take care of that motor. Kelly Byers in the 47 car has run very well this weekend. We saw him on camera just a few laps ago as well, running third. He's dropped back just a little bit right now. Crew Chief Scott Zippitelli told me this is all about the way it was last year for Kelly Byers. No pressure. Go out there, run laps, stay on the track, and so far, Kelly's been doing a good job with that. Mike?
And Colin Brown has been doing a good job himself. He's impressed everyone here, including his crew chief, Eddie Pardue. Pardue said that he was surprised at how much speed he was able to get out of the car. The one area, though, where he feels like he still needs to learn in terms of communicating how to fix the car. He's saying right now that he's a little bit free off, and that's the thing they need to fix in order to compete for this win. Vince?
Behind him is the 99 car of David Rudeman. It was his very first ever road course race at this event a year ago, and he finished 12th, but he said he wasn't very good. So he spent some time in the offseason with Chris Cook, who has really helped him hone his road course racing skills much better than a year ago, and I'd say he started 33rd today. He's up to 7th. Dave?
As for Scott Pruitt, who was leading this race earlier, they are working their way back up through the field and having the advantage of Brad Parrott, who we talked to earlier, is having the advantage of a couple of years of experience with different drivers. Actually, Friday, when they were working in practice, they weren't running as well as they thought they could. They put on the race-winning setup from Juan Pablo's car last year, and they went faster. So it's a good thing for them. They had that information to work off of. Clint Boyer came into this race our championship leader, and so far, he's been just a little bit tight. They tried to adjust on that last time with some air pressure. He also complained about being a little down on horsepower. Felt that way when he was being pulled on the straightaways. He was reminded by his team, you're not going to win this race on horsepower. Let's keep working on it, buddy. Mike?
And the guy working on the 9 car is crew chief Kirk Almquist, who before this weekend had never been to this Mexico City road course. In order to prepare, well, he watched the race from last year while on the airplane flight. To compensate, he really relied on his driver, Patrick Carpentier, who has a lot of experience here at this racetrack. Carpentier really has been the tutor, trying to help this team make adjustments throughout the course of the weekend. Spoke with Carpentier this morning. He said that incrementally he made those adjustments. He didn't want to throw too much at the team too often and overwhelm them. Dave?
Mike, I took a busman's holiday yesterday and sat down in turn 1 during qualifying with 2 engineers from the 12 team. Nick DeFazio and Jonathan Hazlitt were working on what Sam needed to make his car better. And one problem they were seeing was that it was bouncing a little bit in the corners, bouncing on the front end. That was something that was very bad before qualifying. As he came through for his qualifying lap, they said it's still there, but it's something they greatly improved on. Mike?
Lots of frustration in the 27 camp after qualifying. Brad Coleman had extremely high expectations coming in, considering his extensive road course background. However, they set the car up in race trim, and it's paid off so far. He's running toward the top 10, but still, the expectations for this young driver are much higher. He was expecting to compete for the win this afternoon. Meanwhile, Boris said, kind of an uncharacteristic run for this road course specialist. We saw him get off the road course a couple of times. So far, though, they're not saying too much on the radio. I went over to crew chief Frank Stoddard just recently to ask him if there was anything wrong with the car. He just kind of gave me a blank look, shrugged his shoulders, and said, we're just a little bit tight. Vince?
In the 14th spot is Adrian Fernandez, certainly the crowd favorite, one of them, one of 6 drivers from Mexico in the field. It's already been an eventful weekend for Fernandez. He began Thursday in Long Beach with ALMS activity, was here on Friday running the Nationwide car, back in Long Beach on Saturday for the ALMS race in which he finished 8th, and then here on Sunday for the race. They say his car's a little snug, but otherwise he's running race pace. Doc?
Great job, guys, getting us up to speed on the leaders and what's going on with them on the track and on pit road as you watch these guys trying to be able to hang on. By the way, Scott Wimmer did make a dive into the pits during that first caution flag when Curtis Davis came out. So he's had a splash of fuel. He has not been back in. That's why he's able to stay on the racetrack. Got to believe he's going to have to make 2 more stops. 1 car off the race course there. Getting back on. 31 car. That is the efforts of Kenny Hendricks driving for Stanton Barrett. Scott Wimmer's the leader, but folks, Marcus Ambrose is on the move. We'll update his situation when we come back in just a moment. Back in Mexico City, Kyle Busch has been the man on a mission here. We went to break a moment ago, watching him, and Ray Evernham, you said what about Kyle Busch?
Oh, he's just been blistering the field 2 or 3 tenths of a second a lap. And he caught the 29 car and passed him there, and I guess Scotty gave him the room.
Rusty, here's how it happened just a moment ago.
Yeah, you can definitely see he's got him set up coming down the front straightaway right here. Darts out, and down in the turn 1, where you've got a lot of good braking zones. Peels down in there, makes a pass on the entry of turn 1. He's getting ready to exit turn 2 right now. And that is the place to get the tech split pass done. He did a great job right there.
Kyle Busch has led 3,210 laps in his career in this series in racing, but he has led only 5 total laps in his career on a road course.
Yeah, we were talking to him earlier. He's just so confident. I mean, he just didn't practice much at all for this, really didn't get ready, just got the car ready, came on down here, and he's just flat blowing everybody's doors off so far, Jerry. Just a fast car.
Yeah, some of the guys were joking with him in the garage here. He said, okay, yeah, you won back-to-back at Texas and Nashville, but when are you going to learn to be a road racer? You've never even had a top 5. He finished 7th here a couple of years ago, finished 8th in the Cup car at Watkins Glen. I think he took that ribbing a little serious.
I'll tell you what, his crew chief, Dave Rogers, has been incredible with this number 20. Oh, we get David Rudiman's in it again. The 09 car, Kevin O'Donnell.
Couple of cars, and remember, normally on a road course you have
Caution's out, caution.
local yellows, but now you hear from they're going to put the caution out all around here. Kevin O'Connell's car has stalled and will not refire apparently, so they're going to have to slow him down and pull out the pace car. There's a damage on the 99 of Rudiman.
Now that's definitely going to hurt him right there. I mean, that nose has really bent up. I'd take the whole entire time, try to get that press down, Ray, because, wow, got in there deep. Look at that. It just makes you wonder if something went wrong with David's car, just couldn't get it slowed down quick enough because he really got in the back of O'Connell awful hard.
Well, Rusty, you know they've been running long enough to get those brakes hot, brakes boiling a little bit. That pedal might be a little bit lower than you think it is when you get to the corner.
Well, there's going to be a lot of strategy going on right now because this field was pretty spread out with all this pit stop stuff going on. Going to get everybody back in sync together. There's a lot of different strategies happening right now.
If this were to happen on an oval, you obviously, these guys are going to have to pit to get some repairs on the sheet metal. But if on an oval, Ray, everybody would be diving on the pit road to get tires and fuel, but normally not on a road course.
But I'll tell you, Doc, I'm wondering with the Childress cars, they get great gas mileage. If I'm sitting there in that 29 car, I think I'm going to put 4 tires on, I'm going to get my car all ready, and then I'm going to run the 2 or 3 laps of green or whatever it is, plug it to a gas and go, and then stay out. We might see them really be short pit.
Now, they said they're going to stay out. Now, we looked at some statistics in the past 3 years here. After the very last pit stop, the last 35 laps, there's been 12 caution laps in 2005, 12 caution laps again in 2006, and about the same the very last year. So it's pretty predictable what's going to happen when this thing really heats up.
All right, you heard that was the radio from Kyle Busch a moment ago, and he is going to stay out. And you heard Ray talking about if he were calling the shots for Scott Wimmer, because the Childress cars get good fuel mileage, he would possibly consider coming on. And Ray, that's a good call because exactly what you said. Here comes Wimmer down pit road.
Well, Pat Smith and those guys have won a lot of races. And again, they maybe put 4 tires on here. Now it's late in the race, and they probably only need another 5 laps of green. Come in, plug that thing full of gas, and stay out. And then everybody else has got to pit again, and he's good to go.
Vince?
Scott Wimmer in the 29, the Holiday Inn Chevrolet with crew chief Pat Smith on the box. 4 tires and fuel, making a tire pressure adjustment. The yellow came at the perfect time for them because they were scheduled to pit on lap 40.
Saw Jason Leffler go by, others, Ruben Pardo. There are a number of drivers coming on. Max Pappas is back in, Ron Hornaday, Stephen Wallace, Mike Bliss, David Reagan, Kelly Byers.
Jerry, right now everybody's gambling. These cars look like they can run about 40 laps on fuel, and with the cautions that happened the last 3 years, they're going to gamble 5 laps and think they can make it to the end.
Service on Ron Hornaday, the 33 car owned by Kevin and Delana Harvick. Let's get on to David Reagan's pit. Mike.
And the agenda for David Reagan and crew chief Mike Kelly today was not necessarily to compete for the win, but to compete for a top 10 finish. They're playing a little bit conservative. They did come in. They're right on the fringe of their fuel window. 4 tires and fuel on the 6 car.
Mark it at home, lap 35. Most of them came in. Can they make it to lap 80? They're going to need some help with a lot of yellow flag laps. We'll sort the field out for you when we come back in just a moment to Mexico City.
Just like Danica Patrick made history winning at Motegi, Japan last night, Graham Rahal made history 2 weeks ago in open wheel racing, becoming the youngest ever to win at the age of 19. And that made Dad, Bobby, very happy. What will happen, though, today? It is the Champ Car finale. Number of these drivers, it may be the last time we see them. Others will be continuing on in the unified sport. It is the 34th running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach today at 5:30 Eastern.
Welcome back to Mexico City. We are under caution for the second time today. Coming out of lap 34, contact 2 cars involved, the 09 of Kevin O'Connell and the 99 of David Rudeman. Adrian Fernandez has endured a wild last 4 days, having to fly back and forth between Mexico City here and the NASCAR car. And, of course, the American Le Mans car he's been running on the streets of Long Beach, been back and forth Thursday through Sunday. Let's ride along and show you exactly how rigorous that schedule was.
Oh, this is the first stop of a long 4 days trip. We just arrived to Long Beach. There is not much time for mistake or for sleeping. Not bad, huh? I'm doing the 2 races this weekend. Can you believe it? Yeah. I'm doing the NASCAR in Mexico and I'm doing this here. We just finished practice on Thursday. Things looking good, but now I have to change minds now. Mexico.
Yeah, not only was he having to go back and forth, you saw his wife Catalina there. He gave her a kiss, and she was holding their little girl, Valentina. They're expecting their second child, a little boy they're going to name Nico, any day now, probably within the next week. So he's going back and forth. Long Beach, Mexico City. His wife's expecting a baby. His plate has been very, very full. And, folks, given all of that, he had to start dead last here today, and he is being shown up in 10th position. Adrian Fernandez running in 10th spot. Kyle Busch is our leader. He did not pit on this latest caution flag. Carl Edwards in second. The pole sitter, Colin Brown in 3rd spot. 40 car running back and forth. Of course, that is Scott Pruitt. And the 5th place car, our points leader, Clint Boyer. They are continuing to make some repairs up to the wall there in turn 7 and 8, where the collision between Kevin O'Connell and David Rudeman took place. While they make those repairs, we'll take a break and then hustle back to NASCAR Nationwide action here in Mexico City. In a city of 25 million people, it pays to drive aggressively, but Curtis Davis had an engine trouble. And not a lot of room here in this town, but they push and shove, and they like the Fiestas. Today it's happening with fast cars on a very tight road course. Morris said loops it around, contact the latest version up in turn 7 and 8. Pretty heavy damage for that car. And of course, guys, on and off the road course here throughout the afternoon. NASCAR Nationwide action coming to you from south of the border here in Mexico City. The 20 car, Kyle Busch is our leader. Let's listen in to their radio communication.
It's pretty good. I mean, it picks up tight, it picks up loose, so nothing really. All right, we're going to stick to our original game plan. We're going to stay out here.
And Doc, ask any crew chief in the garage this morning what the biggest challenge is here in Mexico. It's planning pit strategy. So much, in fact, that some teams have that pit strategy planned before the race even starts. You kept Kyle out there sticking to, quote, your original plan. What is that?
Yeah, our original plan was to make 2 green flag stops. As soon as we get in our window, we'll stop. And try not to let these guys that are in the back trying to play the fuel mileage game beat us. Playing defense.
Sometimes defense is the best offense. Now for more on fuel and fuel cells, let's go to Tim Brewer in our Chevy Cutaway car.
When it comes down to a fuel mileage race, I know a little bit about what's going on in that area. Historically, we mount the fuel cell pickup over in the right rear corner of the car. But at a road course, you're turning right and left. What are you going to do to pick the fuel up? We're going to take the fuel pickup out of the right rear corner. We're going to move it over here to the center, because when you're turning right and left, we've got the flapper doors in both sides. We've got the box. We contain the fuel right here in this area. And the trick to fuel mileage is getting every drop of fuel out of the fuel cell. And if you can do that, it might enable you to win the race here in Mexico City.
Great explanation, Tim. You got to have that fuel pickup right in the middle of the cell to be able to get every single ounce of fuel out of it. Now, we've heard from the 20 crew and what their plans are. What's going on down in the 60 pit? Let's hear from Pierre Cattell.
Let's check in with him right now, Doc. And Pierre, you guys, are you able to pick your lap and make it on one more stop at this point?
One more stop, yeah.
Okay, now, how long do you want to stay out? We're at lap 37. You want to throw a number out there and get some people confused?
Yeah, no, I don't want to confuse anybody. I mean, it's going to be a few. We'll be in a few.
And what about tires? And you'll need those as well. And does he need any adjustments on the car?
We are making an air pressure adjustment. He does need tires. Tires are bigger here this year than they were last year, so we will put some gums on for him.
All right, and they'll send him back out, guys. It should be just a few laps from now. Stay tuned.
He was full of all kinds of information, wasn't he? I mean, sometimes you got to play it a little close to the vest, I guess, but typically that car pitted on lap 19. How far would they go, Ray?
Well, they're going to get in whatever their fuel window is. They're going to subtract from 80. They probably know they got a good mileage reading, how far they can go. They might gamble a lap or two. The cars I'd be worried about, though, are the guys that just pitted. I think you might see somebody like the 29 car try and go all the way, or those guys just do a quick gas and go, get some fuel, and spend less time on pit road and pitting under green.
You know, I talked to a lot of the teams down there the other day, and they said, you know, we did have a 22-gallon fuel cell last year. It's 18 this year, but with the less horsepower, we're actually getting about the same the same distance out of it. And now if these caution flags happen like they did last year and the year before, man, these guys might be able to make it. There's some are going to probably go for it.
NASCAR has called off the green flag because of trouble with the 84 car. Jose Luis Ramirez needing to get a push around, so we'll take a break and come back with the green flag for NASCAR's nationwide cars in Mexico City. Today it's stock car racing in Mexico City, but next week it's the high banks, high speeds, and high risks of super speedway racing in Talladega, Alabama. Live flag-to-flag coverage on ABC Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Also available on ABC HD. Who could ever forget that last lap pass? Bobby Labonte moving by Tony Stewart in a team car to take the win, to nip him at the line at Talladega. Always one of my favorite races, and join us next Saturday, 2:30 Eastern Time. There's the 16 car. Big story of the weekend is a 19-year-old pole sitter, Colin Brown. Now let's go down to his pits where Mike Massaro is caught up with a couple of special guests.
And of course, those being his parents, Doc, Jeff and Diane Brown. What's this like for you? I mean, your kid's having a sensational run here.
Well, it's a great, it's great for him. It's a good opportunity that Ford and Roush Fenway have given him, and he's just trying to make the best of it. It's, you know, all you can do for your kids is hope that they can live the dream that they've worked so hard for, and he's got that opportunity here, so we're thrilled.
What are the nerves like for you right now?
I'm not really nervous. I mean, I love watching him drive. That's my favorite thing to do. I just get nervous, you know, at the end. If something good can happen, that you don't want something to happen that changes that. But I think it's exciting. I love watching him drive.
And Doc, there may be plenty of reason to get more nervous as these laps unfold.
And folks, I was talking to these parents this morning. They live in the tiny town of Avalo, Texas. Now, they told me it's in the middle of nowhere, on a tin building with a tin roof. Their house, 3 bedrooms, a kitchen and a bathroom, and half the building is a race shop. By the way, Dad is a race engineer for one of the road racing Grand Am teams. And he said from the time Colin could barely walk, he was racing go-karts around their shop. He has learned, you know, watching his dad and basically growing up with a steering wheel in his hand, and it's paying off now here in NASCAR. Lucky Dog in the 4 car, Landon Castle gets the free pass. First driver a lap down. He is our Aaron's Lucky Dog recipient. Landon gets that lap back. That'll put 34 cars on the lead lap, and Kyle Busch will bring him down. Carl Edwards, Colin Brown, Pruitt, Boyer, Carpentier, and Said as they head back to the green flag. Little pushing and shoving back there. Jason Leffler and Steve Wallace, a little fender bumping. They were 2 and 3 and 4 wide trying to get position.
It looks like Michelle Jourdain's car got the front end cave. It is on the right-hand side of your screen right here. A lot of damage on this restart. Looks like he just didn't get going, or somebody didn't get going in front of him.
Now, you got to believe he's having a terrible time being able to see it all with that hood buckled up there and smoke billowing out of the car.
A lot of fluid coming out from the bottom of that car, too. We're hoping that's not oil. A 59 car gets off, causes a lot of dust there. Somebody in the front didn't go. Looked like Michelle Jourdain got in the back of another car. Definitely got a broken oil cooler and or radiator, Rusty.
Ray, it looks like one of the biggest problems was there was just no vision. These guys couldn't see anything. Look at this.
Jason Leffler's onboard camera.
You see at this point, Jourdain is just tore up big time. Caution flags on a speedway for this. Looks like maybe if the radiator's knocked out of it, Ray, it's hard for me to believe it's not because it's caved in so far.
Caution flag now waving again, and you got to wonder, we still have 41 laps to go. The window you were calculating for fuel is somewhere around what?
Around this here, I think you're going to see some guys pit. You know, certainly the guys that have just taken tires can come in and get a gas and go and get up to the front. But I think you're going to see some guys chance it, roll the dice on the caution, come in and get fuel.
Well, I agree with you, Ray. I mean, with all these caution flags, these things are just flat making fuel. I mean, the guy's trying to go for it. I really think the 29 car, Scott Wimmer's going to try it. He came in right when we were talking about what he should be able to get done, how many laps he should be able to run with caution flags. He's getting his caution flags right now.
Remember our leader, Kyle Busch, last pitted on lap 14. There's Fernandez and others who pitted as early as lap 10. What will they do? Remember, they'll have to follow the caution car all the way around for the pits to open for them to be able to make that pit stop. We'll take a break and come back and see who's going to pit and who isn't. Back with coverage from Mexico in a moment. Under caution here for the third time today. Actually, we are red flagged here at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez road course. An incident involving on the restart Michelle Jourdain Jr.'s car. There's oil around the racetrack. There's a 32 car in a chain reaction crash where everyone sort of stopped as they were getting the green flag, and he ended up being punting a car from behind. There is a trail of oil around the racetrack. So NASCAR has stopped the cars before they would ever even able to get back to pit road. Now, the 81 car will be our lucky dog, the Aaron's Lucky Dog Free Pass Award winner, Canadian DJ Kennington. He was the first driver a lap down, and he will get that lap back, putting us now 35 cars of the 43 original starters on the lead lap. And there's the 59 car and others as they have stopped on the racetrack. We see the pace car there sitting at the head of the field and leader Kyle Busch.
We're hearing that NASCAR is reprimanding everybody for the way they stopped on the course. They want them to line up bumper to bumper, and they've all looked at them. They're about 4 or 5 wide right now. They're all crammed in, and it's really blocked the entire racetrack, so the safety vehicles really can't get around unless they go off in the grass. So Kyle Busch is sitting out there all by himself.
You see the Michelle Jourdain car coming by on the flatbed. And what happened a moment ago on the restart, you actually saw the 59 car of Marcus Ambrose. He was in one of those cars in line on the restart. Had to actually go to his left in the grass to be able to miss some of the cars. Now, here's the replay. Watch it start. See Ambrose all the way off the track in the grass.
Causes a lot of dust. Everybody starts checking up, and it looks like the 32 gets in the back of the 47.
Well, the rule NASCAR's got, if the green flag's waving, you have to pass to the left-hand side. And he just didn't stay on the racetrack. He went through the dirt, passed everybody. And I believe that's a legal move, but boy, it sure did make for havoc behind everybody. Nobody could see.
Let's listen into the radio there between the 59 of Marcus Ambrose and crew chief Gary Cogswell.
I don't think I could do that again if I tried, Gary. Oh, no. Nobody said I got a great job, they all checked up. I had nowhere to go.
Well, he says he all checked up, had nowhere to go. The one thing you can do, which they told me to do, NASCAR did several times, hey, dummy, you got a gas pedal and a brake pedal, get out of it. Now, I'm a dummy when I was driving. I did some stuff. But Marcus Ambrose, he's a trained professional. He was doing the right thing, and he got away with it.
But if he stays put, does he get hit from behind in a chain reaction crash, or is he trying to avoid hitting someone or getting hit?
Well, Jerry, I think he probably had so much momentum going on. He said, hey, I can pass to the left. I got good vision. I'm going for it. And he did that and got away with it. I'll guarantee you NASCAR's not too happy about it. And there's Michelle Jourdain's got a big crash out of it. And there's been some other drivers get some passes because of it. So it really jumbled things up.
We told you Adrian Fernandez has been traveling back and forth around the country the last 4 days. His pit crews also had their hands full. Let's go down to Vince.
You know, Doc, you wouldn't think a red flag would be hard on the pit crew, but it is hard on this 5 crew for Adrian Fernandez, because the 5 crew, along with the 88 crew for Junior Motorsports, flew in to Mexico City in the wee hours of the morning. And Mark Armstrong, a.k.a. Hollywood, here with me. You guys, how much sleep did you get from the time you landed to the time you got to the track this morning?
Well, not a lot of sleep because the airport's just a few miles down the road from here, but most everybody slept on the way over here last night, about a 4-hour flight. Got a little bit of sleep at the airport, but the red flags, you know, adrenaline wears down a little bit and you get still, you get a little sleepy, but man, the 5 car's running really great, and just, you know, hope bring home a victory for Lowe's.
You know, there's a lot of races you don't get any red flags. Today we've had 2, so I've noticed some guys that have been jumping around. What have you guys been doing to stay awake?
Just drinking plenty of fluids, and you know, Adrian Fernandez here has a bunch of fans, and we've been throwing the lug nuts up in the stands, and you know, they're cheering us on. So it's been great. We've had a good time over here, and hopefully, you know, we can get a good finish with the 88 Navy car and the Lowe's car.
Yeah, Doc, it's one of the nice things about the 5 car and where the pits are located, because as we come out, we turn around and look, the fans are right up behind the pit box. So the fans of Adrian Fernandez getting a good view of the way the work's happening down here in the pits.
Oh, they got to love the view down there. And by the way, Mark Armstrong told us this morning those crew members who were flying in from North Carolina had to be at the airport at 12:30 a.m. So he went to dinner with his family, spent some time with his kids, and then didn't even go to bed. Just headed to the airport at 12:30. They had to go through all the security checks and board the plane at 3:30 a.m. to come down here. These guys have not been to bed. They came straight to the racetrack. Now they're hoping that we can get this race in. They can pit the car and then do a little sleeping on the way home. A little refreshment for the drivers, making NASCAR trucks going around, and some of the firemen passing out bottles of water to the drivers as we are under a red flag here at lap 40. We are halfway home here. Great contingent of Mexican fans enjoying the NASCARs here in Mexico. Welcome back to NASCAR Nationwide Series action, Mexico City, presented by Kawasaki. And the fans down here are passionate about their sports. Remember, this course built back in 1962, originally hosted Formula One. They've had the open wheel cars, but they have really embraced the NASCAR stock car drivers who started coming here in 2005. A concerted effort by NASCAR to expand the fan base, and they have a NASCAR Mexican Series, which has been very successful. And Rusty, you were a part of the initial trek down here, and these, I think NASCAR has to say this has been quite a success for what they're trying to do with the sport.
Well, Jerry, I think it's been very successful. I mean, some of the teams complain about the travel getting down here, but this year I heard a lot of people say it wasn't near as bad. But if you see how happy these people are to see these cars and drivers, you love coming here because of that. I mean, the fan base has been built a lot with the Mexican people and Spanish people coming down to this area. I personally like coming down here. I have a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
You got a lot of fans here, too. We walk out of the booth, try to get back to the TV compound. They're all screaming Rusty Wallace. So they remember you from down here, but they've also watched you for years on our coverage back when you were winning races as a full-time Cup driver.
Well, I got to tell you, I don't care who you are. That makes you feel really good when these people stop and ask for your autographs. They're taking pictures. They're so excited. They're bringing their cars. I mean, they've got your merchandise. They've bought it and had it shipped down. They bought it here. They had number 2 cars, number 2 T-shirts, a lot of Stevens stuff. I saw a lot of Ray Abraham stuff running around. The people are really excited and passionate for the sport down here.
Well, it's my first trip here, and I got to tell you, I was amazed when I got here. How big of a place Mexico City is, and these people are excited. They take their racing seriously. This is a beautiful facility, beautiful, flat, smooth, fast racetrack, and they are really big now in oval track racing. I guess they've built 7 or 8 new ovals, and they've got a short track series. Some of those guys are doing double duty today. Those cars look a lot like the old ASA cars, but they are really interested in oval track racing.
Well, the fact that the Nationwide Series has been very successful here and also in Montreal, where they go later in July. What about the possibilities of maybe running the Cup cars here out of the country in years to come?
Well, I'll tell you what, if they bring the Cup cars here, you will see some speeds at this place, because to me, this place is really fast. Now, the Nationwide cars are down probably 300 horsepower to what we have.
Yeah, it's real close to that, Ray. It really is. We lose about an additional 40 horsepower because of the altitude here. But you hit the nail on the head about the speed. This front straightaway is over 3/4 of a mile long. This is the longest straightaway in all of NASCAR. That's right, longer than Pocono, and that's the longest, I believe. So they're flat flying if the Cup cars were here.
And that's one of the reasons that NASCAR has stopped and red flagged this race, because of oil on these long straightaways. Here's the front straightaway and also the back stretch. They want to make sure they get it all up, because these cars are sailing down at 175, 80 miles an hour and then jamming on those brakes and trying to turn right. So a high-speed road course. A moment ago, you saw water being handed out to the drivers. Some of the drivers drinking the water, some of them pouring it on themselves, because, Rusty, it's got to be hot sitting in these cars.
Well, it's pretty hot right now. You take a look at Jason Luffler. I mean, this guy is so hot. He's been dumping water all over his legs, down across his face. And folks, what's going on? It's radiant heat. There's no airflow going through these cars, and the heat is just boiling up through these cars, Ray. And you know, as an owner like you used to be, you'd put a lot of insulation in there trying to help these guys, but they're obviously hot right now.
And you've got a couple of things going on, not only the radiant heat, but that's why they call that area the greenhouse. With all those windows, it's just like sitting in a real greenhouse. It's warm. That's why I think when we saw that front shot and you said, why are those guys 5 wide? And somebody pointed out, hey, they're parked in the shade. They might have done that on purpose.
Yeah, you see the shade right across here. You see all these cars lined up, that little black stripe trying to get their windows underneath that. A little bit of shade it is, but you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars parked underneath of it.
They go 5 wide, stopping under the shade, under the red flag. Now, what about the pit strategy? Remember, NASCAR stopped these cars before they could get back around to pit road where they could actually come in. Well, some of them come now. Let's find out what's going on today.
And right here, we're looking at a few moments ago, Brad Parrott talking to Matt Gimbel, the crew chief on the 12 car. They're next door to each other, and they're talking what ifs. And Brad Parrott saying, if we come in, are you guys coming in? And can you stay out of our way, or can we stay out of your way? That's very important on this final pit stop. I've been watching Brad since then. The coach, I'll call him, has been running around, pumping up his guys. He also talked with rear tire changer Chuck Efaw and rear tire carrier Todd Draculich about their stop, because they may need to pull a spring rubber out of one or both rears on Scott's car. That's a little time consuming. So they walk through that, but Parrott's been back and forth all over the place down here in his pit, still holding their cards on whether or not they will pit. We'll see. Mike?
And Colin Brown still in the midst of a pretty strong run, third on the scoreboard right now, but he hasn't made his second stop yet, Eddie. When do you plan to do that?
The 3-on-4 Fusion is really close here. This red flag has got everybody thinking about it, but we're real close to doing it.
2 red flags. Really, it would seem hard to gain some momentum. How has this situation, the way today's race has unfolded, how's that affected strategy? Well,
it's changed it quite a bit here. Like I say, we're counting cautions, looking at stats, and listening to people, and trying to find out what our teammates are doing. It's, like I say, we're close to doing this final stop, and that's going to make the difference.
Doc, I would expect to see a lot of people hit pit road in the next 2 or 3 laps, I would say.
Exactly, guys. We do know the top 15 cars here will have to come on the pit road sometime between now and the checkered flag. I got to believe that they're going to have to make at least one stop and maybe a splash here. We'll find out. You saw Brad Parrott a moment ago. He's the crew chief on the 40 car of Scott Pruitt. Scott Pruitt's never won a NASCAR race. He wants it so badly. Couldn't have a better crew chief, because Parrott has a pretty good history of giving drivers their very first NASCAR Nationwide win. In 2005, he took Carl Edwards to victory lane in Atlanta, Casey Mears in 06 at Chicago, and last year right here, Juan Pablo Montoya in Mexico City. Could it be Pruitt in 2008? We'll have to wait and see.
I am Kyle Busch. I like to go out and play out in the sand dunes. Sand car is like an off-road vehicle. It's got a lot of suspension travel. You can drive it up the sand on the mountains and stuff, and pull some wheelies and kind of have some fun with it. There's a whole lot of room to really let them rip and put them tear up some sand and show everybody what you got underneath them. I am Kyle Busch.
Well, if it's got wheels, Kyle Busch will drive it. In fact, he has driven in all 20 NASCAR events this year in the NASCAR Sprint Cup, NASCAR Nationwide Series, and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He leads the points in the Truck Series, is second in the Sprint Cup, and is third in Nationwide. And although he still won't divulge his plans, he had planned on running 24 of these events. Got to believe if he wins today, he might just hang on and try to run for the title in the Nationwide Series as well.
Well, one thing for sure, Jerry, he just can't seem to make his mind up, that's for sure. But there's one thing we do know.
Stay out. Stay out.
The top 15 cars have got to pit. I mean, 16th on back of all pitted at lap 35. Now I wonder if the guys come down pit road that have pitted on 35, top them off, that gives them, 40 to go right now. I know they can make with that.
And Doc, no matter what, I'm coming now. I would put my 4 tires on if I'm not one of the guys that have pitted, because I know that even if I can't make it on fuel, there you go. Pruitt will be in. They'll either try and make it. They're going to try and spend the least amount of time on pit road. Right now, he might only need another 2 or 3 seconds worth of gas to finish this race. He can do that under green and save 10 seconds.
40 car in, Dave Burns.
And guys, one of the things that Scott Pruitt needs is a better race car. They are going to take spring rubbers out of the rear of that race car to try to give him better grip. That'll take him some more time. But again, they're almost alone here on pit road, just a few takers along with them. The 11 car of Jason Keller is going to come in as well. Both of these cars will need caution laps at the end of this race in order to finish it without stalling out of fuel. So they don't plan to come in again. And now packing both cars full of fuel, making sure they've got every drop in there they can. Keller is away. Pruitt is already gone.
David Reagan is in. You see Pruitt leaving there. There's Jason Keller, who has led today. Kyle Krisiloff in the 41 car, who pitted back on lap number 10. And again, now you pit now, even though you may not be able to make it all the way on fuel, because
I would, if the green is out and you've got to come down pit road and you've got to put your tires on, you're going to spend 14 seconds in your pit stall. Put your tires on now, run a few laps, come in under green, take 2 or 3 seconds worth of gas. You save 10 seconds under green. This is about a timed race now.
Well, that's the reason you're the professor and I'm the driver. When I was a driver, I'd sit in the car and I'd go, just make those decisions. You guys are confusing me, but there's definitely going to be some gambling going on.
Now you may understand why 5 of those 9 road course wins for Jeff Gordon when Ray Everdham was calling the shots. That's why those guys were so good, although the driver wasn't too bad either. Back with a green flag in Mexico City in just a moment. Welcome back to Mexico City, Mexico. NASCAR Nationwide Series action. We've been under a red flag here. Caution number 3 on the day. Produced a lot of oil around the racetrack, and we had to stop the cars, clean the racetrack, and now Kyle Busch will lead them single file. All the restarts are single file down here toward the green flag. Remember, the top 13 cars have not been on pit road since early in the day, including Kyle Busch, who pitted on lap 14. 3 wide down in that mix. You see Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards there, Colin Brown, the 16 car. Clint Boyer trying to go on the outside of the 16.
And boy, you just don't want to get hung on the outside like Clint Boyer did, but he squeezed himself back in there in front of Patrick Carpentier because it gets awful tight on the entry turn 1.
Adrian Fernandez started shotgun on the field up to 11th. 59 car also having a good run. Marcus Ambrose in the mix there. Watch him on the inside of the 27 take the spot away from Coleman and Hornish.
It looks like Marcus got in the back of Brad Coleman just a little bit and got him up the racetrack, but he got the position. And guys, I just got to believe that late in the race right now is when the intensity in these drivers are going to start heating up. We're going to see some really aggressive driving right now.
Well, that's when that crew chief needs to be going, okay, here's the many laps. We've still got a long way to go. Stay calm. Take those deep breaths.
And there's a lot of these guys really hoping for more cautions. I really believe they're going to try to stretch this thing and make it to the end. Again, based on the last 3 years, we've had about 13 caution laps the last 3 years in a row from this point on.
Well, the 60 car of Carl Edwards last pitted on lap 19. Got to wonder what they're thinking. Dave?
Well, and Rusty, to your yellow comments, the late Benny Parsons always told me, Dave, you can't count on a caution. And the guys who just pitted are certainly doing that. They'll be, between 5 and 6 laps short. They need the caution laps to make that up. Carl Edwards, for his part, he'd rather have fresh rubber and safe fuel strategy at the end of the race. They believe that fresh tires will be worth something at the end of this event. So even if it stays green, they don't mind making a green flag pit stop, having fresher tires, and being able to race back through the pack with a full load of fuel.
And Dave, a very good point, because last year Juan Pablo Montoya came in 10 laps later. He had to come back in for a problem in the pits with fueling. He had fresher rubber, came out in 20th position, and Montoya ran the leaders down, although he ran over one of the leaders with 8 laps to go, but he ran the leaders down from 20th spot and won the race. So fresh rubber, a big difference, a big advantage here.
Well, it is, Jerry, but you know what? That pit road under caution, or I'm sorry, under green, it's a long, long pit road. You spend a lot of time at 35 miles an hour. If this race stays green, that's a lot of time to have to make up.
I'm not trying to talk you guys in that these guys can make it, okay? But you keep bringing up points that do wake me up. 35 miles per hour on the longest straightaway in NASCAR. I mean, that's a long pit road, and I'm really interested to see how this thing's going to pay off. Now, just like Dave told us, these tires are very, very important. There's a lot of grip out there. This track is hot, it's slick, it's old, it's wore out, and fresh tires really does a lot.
37 laps to go again. Kyle Busch pitted on lap 14. It is an 80-lap race. Their window is about 35 to 36 laps, so within a lap or so they would be in their fuel window, and now any time they could come if we were to get a yellow. Here is the 5 car. Adrian Fernandez on pit road. Vince.
Well, the 5 car of Adrian Fernandez is going to take on the 4 tires and the Sunoco fuel. And it's been an interesting race for this team led by Chad Walter. Remember, they had to start at the back of the pack because he did not qualify the car, and they've marched their way back to the top 10. Mike?
Crew Chief Frank Stoddard playing a little bit of poker with the 25 team, not calling Boris Said down pit road until very late. Team sprung into action. They made a very slight air pressure adjustment, 4 tire change in fuel, and Boris is away.
Now this move might pay off for these guys.
Well, I think it is. I really do. They're planning on not coming now. They've short pitted. They're staying out. If the caution comes out, all those other guys are going to have to come in. And again, they're going to the front of the field.
Well, Ray, it doesn't look like they've gambled at all. I mean, because everybody we talk to know if they just go solid green flag, everybody can run at least 35 laps. So here we are at lap 44, and you know, this is a real conservative approach. It looks like. I gotta believe now they're banking on these fresher tires just making these cars run faster. A lot faster.
Of the cars that have pitted and possibly can make it, the closest one to the lead is Scott Pruitt back in 17th position. He pitted his last pit on lap 41, so you got to wonder how close they would be. Maybe 4 or 5 yellow laps, they can make it the rest of the way. Kyle Busch has won back-to-back in the series at Texas and Phoenix, has never won on a road course. 88 on pit road. Vince.
That's Brad Keselowski. Keselowski out of the Junior Motorsports Camp. Crew Chief Tony Uri Sr. They were 43rd last year. They blew a motor on the first lap. He was determined to have a better showing today, and he has the stop in less than 16 seconds.
Good stop for the 88 crew. On and off pit road very quickly. Tony Uri Sr. calling his shots down there for Brad Keselowski.
Tell you what, the tires are really holding up for Kyle Busch really good right now. His fastest lap, and this was the beginning of the race, was a 89.73. His last lap was a 90.14, so about 3.5, 4 tenths. That's all he's fell off on his tires. And last time he pitted, guys, was lap 14. A lot of laps in the tires. He's still running pretty fast.
See there, he had only led 5 laps in his career on a road course coming into the day. He has now led 12 laps here in Mexico City. There's the 40 car of Scott Pruitt. Started on the outside of row 1. 48-year-old road racing specialist. 9-time road racing champion in 3 different series. Said he's wanted to win a NASCAR race his entire life. Hoping that today would be the day. Came so close a year ago until that contact with Juan Pablo Montoya with 8 laps to go. Patrick Carpentier making what should be his final stop. Mike?
And he's very happy with the race car, at least the way it's handling. There is one concern, though. The water temperatures have escalated beyond 230 degrees, and they're going to make a change on air pressure on the right side. A 4-tire change, 2 cans of Sunoco race fuel for Patrick Carpentier, but it's the temperatures they're concerned about. They cleaned the grill. The big problem, though, there was really no tape on there to begin with, so they couldn't pull any tape. They're hoping the temperatures will drop.
He's away. Got to wonder how many of the other guys will come down. You saw Max Pappas. There's the 28 of Brad Coleman, who was running in the top 10, making his final stop. The 4 car on and off pit road. That's Landon Castle. Well, how long do you wait? You pitted on lap 14.
When you be coming this time, no pressure in your beer.
Answers the question.
Whoa, he got a little distracted with that conversation is that almost got that thing in a wall, Kyle did. Now he's coming down pit road right on the bottom of the track, getting it down to 35 miles per hour.
And we'll see what Dave Rogers and those guys are going to put 4 fresh Goodyears on there. Top him off with fuel and 35 miles an hour. It's got to feel like an eternity in that car. 59 also in, Vince.
Marcus Ambrose, they took left side tires and now they come over to the turn, change the right side, and of course topping off with fuel. This has been one of the great stories. They've come from the back twice today. Dave?
The 2 car of Clint Boyer is in. No changes to that car. He'll get 4 tires of fuel. Right in front of him, Sam Hornish. 4 tires and fuel. His car got tight. They'll make a change. Mike.
And Dave Rogers sticking to his original game plan, coming down for just 4 tires and fuel. No adjustments to the 20 car. They drop him off the jack. A very fast pit stop for Kyle Busch.
Also Steve Wallace in. There's Kyle Busch as he's on and off of pit road. Some of the other cars exiting pit road. Clint Boyer was there. Steve Wallace, he was running in 10th position. Also on and off, making their final pit stops.
Jerry, looks like a lot of these fellas hit pit road that stopped at lap 35. Coming in like 2 laps ago now and just putting gas and go. That's about it. Just topping the tank back off, leaving the tires on the car.
Of the cars that have not pitted, there are 2, and those 2 right there they are. Carl Edwards, I'll get it out in a moment. Carl Edwards, the leader, and Colin Brown, the 19-year-old pole sitter in 2nd spot. Back in 3rd is being shown now as the 40 car of Scott Pruitt. And here comes a 16, almost missed the entrance to pit road.
Well, if he would have missed that commitment line, he'd have been in trouble.
Yeah, worked that hard all day long and coming a little hot, missed that line. That was a tough one right there, but he made it.
What's Eddie Pardue and the guys going to do, Mike?
Well, you heard the report a little earlier ago in the broadcast that Colin Brown said the thing they really need to work on is correcting the freeness off the corner. That's what they're going to work on. They're going to make a track bar adjustment and an air pressure adjustment to the 16 car, 4 tires and fuel for Brown. Then Brown is in. Team goes to work now on the left side of the car. They make the change there. Very clean, and they're hoping for a quick stop here. And they see the chassis wrench out. They're going to make the quick track bar adjustment. They go to work now on the right side on the 16 machine.
Also, for you Ron Hornaday fans, he has made his final pit stop. There he comes. And Colin Brown is down and away. Oh, going around the 11 car. Big spin there for Jason Keller, who had led today, was being shown in the top 9. Sam Hornish has also been involved. Damage on the left side of his Dodge. Still no full course yellow, and now, yes, they are going to put the caution out. That was over in turn 3. Adrian Fernandez involved after he had driven from the back of the field all the way up to be a contender. Heavy damage on the back of his Chevy.
Yeah, that's one car they're not going to be able to get fixed. It just tore the back clear off that car. No downforce in the back. They'll probably try to get it back out there for some points, but being competitive, this day's probably finished now.
Adrian Fernandez not being able to qualify the car, starting from the back of the field all the way up to 5th position. And now heavy damage on the back of that machine brings it in. Chad Walter and company try to look into the damage to get him back on the racetrack. Now, what does this do for the 60 car, Carl Edwards? And if he comes in, obviously he's at the back of the line.
When pit road's open.
Well, again, they stayed out, and now we're going to pit under caution. All those guys that pitted are going to stay out. Look at who's up front there, the 40 car. This caution's going to help him make it on gas. And you got to say, well, tires make a difference. He's only got 3 or 4 more laps on his tires than them guys that pitted right behind him. He's in real good shape right now.
And he's the best road racer out there, one of them. So things are looking good for him right now. Just about the time you question Brad Parrott, something good happens.
Yeah, Brad Parrott, there's some debris on the racetrack. Again, we are under caution for the 4th time today. We've been under caution for 11 laps. Here's the contact. Jason Keller in the 11, David Reagan behind him, the 86 car behind him, Antonio Perez.
Jason did a good job spinning that thing around, just keeping it going. No caution come out for this event right here. The big one's about ready to happen on the entry of turn 7.
On board Mike Bliss's car, you see Keller spin around. Nice job by Bliss to get underneath him and not be caught up in the contact.
Looked like Sam got under him there, maybe a little hard on the brakes, got a little bit loose and kind of turned up into him.
On board with Adrian Fernandez camera, and you'll watch Sam Hornish come out on to the right side of your screen.
Well, you just got to believe that Sam got in the corner a little too hot, slid up in Adrian, spun him, because the replay showed there was plenty of room underneath of him for another car to pass him on the inside. But when you're running over 150, 160 miles per hour going into turn 7, it's an awful fast corner like we talked about earlier, Ray.
Yeah, when you're trying to brake and corner at the same time, those tires just don't like it. And sometimes, again, as the inside wheel unloads, it could lock up a wheel on you and start you skidding.
It's kind of looking like our statistic from the last 3 years is starting to come into play right now, Jerry. You know, 12, 13 caution laps coming in the last 3 years, late in the race. These guys are getting anxious now.
At dinner the other night, that's what we were talking about. Do you pit late, or what kind of strategy? And that's what Ray Evernham was saying. You go and you study the history of this race course, right? You look and you see what happens in the second half of the race.
Like, every team has a program. You know what the average is. We have a program that tells us what the statistics are. What's the percentage of a caution coming out in these laps? And if you look at it, you can plan it. It's a gamble. I mean, we're not at Vegas, but it's still a gamble. And again, you know, right now Brad took a little bit of a gamble with Scott Pruitt, but this puts him right on the money. He's out front with only 3 or 4 more laps on his tires, and I bet he's going to have enough fuel to finish this race.
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you've got to gamble on a road course because, I mean, I've been in a car before where, you know, on the caution flag, I've shut the engine off, I've coasted, refired it, I've saved a lot of fuel. But as tough as this competition is in NASCAR nowadays, if you just play everything straight up, you're not going to win. You have to gamble a little bit.
Listen to this crowd cheering as you see the 5 car. Now they're on their feet cheering and waving as Adrian Fernandez comes back down pit road. They want this guy to be a part of the finish here of the NASCAR event in Mexico City. He almost won it a couple of years ago, but he had a violation on pit road that cost him a chance at victory. Speaking of pit violations, we are being told there was a violation a moment ago in the 16 cars pit. Mike?
That's right, Doc, and you know, it may have ruined an otherwise spectacular run for Colin Brown. He's done a great job behind the wheel, but they had a tire get away. The left front tire rolled out of the pit box during that stop, and of course Eddie Pardue had a long conversation with NASCAR officials trying to argue his case. His case was that they waited inside the pit stall. They told their driver not to leave until they retrieved the tire. That's their argument. It doesn't sound like, though, that NASCAR's buying it, and it does appear the 16 car will go to the end of the longest line.
Dave?
Carl Edwards coming down now for his final pit stop. The conversation on the radio went something like this: PK trying to keep his driver pumped up. Strategy or pit cautions worked in our favor. Carl, realizing that, yeah, that's kind of talking me up a little bit, said back to him, well, yeah, for tires. So they will have fresher rubber than the guys by a lap or so, but now they'll have to work their way back up through this entire field as Carl will get 4 tires full of fuel. They made an adjustment too. He feels like he can get the car just a little bit better, but he's got a long road to hoe from here, guys.
And remember, on road courses, and particularly on this road course, all restarts are single file. He will be about probably 3/4 of a mile behind the leader when the leader takes the green flag. NASCAR Nationwide Series at Mexico City, presented by Kawasaki. We'll come back with a green flag, 30 laps to go in this one. Welcome back to the Corona Mexico 200. Next week we head to Talladega Super Speedway. The NASCAR Nationwide Series cars going to the high banks, high speeds, and high risks of one of the most exciting super speedways in the world. Talladega. Live coverage coming your way Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Here's a look at our Holiday Inn Express race summary. Today here, there have been 7 different leaders. 8 lead changes among those 7 different drivers. The average speed just over 67 miles per hour. There are still 32 cars on the lead lap, and we have run 12 laps under caution. There are 8 cars currently out of the race, and still a couple of those are being worked on back in the garage area. Well, who's it going to be? Scott Pruitt leads him down for the green flag. He should be okay, although it still may be a little close on fuel. 30 laps to go. And here are some of the guys back in the pack mixing it up. You see Marcus Ambrose there, Scott Wimmer a part of that group. 3 wide, maybe 4 wide entering turn 1. That could get a little bit hairy. Yeah, they pair it back in double file.
And I'll tell you what, as a driver, when you go down to turn 1 side by side, it is so tight. I mean, look at these guys. They're jammed all over the place.
86 car having a trouble with the that's Antonio Perez, one of the cars that was running awfully well, just slowed through that turn, second and third turn.
And Kyle Busch really got jammed up back there, Jerry. He had to get out of the throttle.
There is Perez. His car just came abruptly to a slow at the end of the front straightaway. He has an issue.
What a shame that he had run all the way up in 5th place, and it looks like he's had some kind of mechanical issue, either electrical or possibly a transmission or gear problem, Rusty.
That very well could be this late in the race. I mean, you think about gear racers when they're on a restart, they might miss a gear, overrev the motor, something like that.
Starting to get aggressive on the racetrack. Brad Coleman, the 27. Kelly Byers, the 47. Looking back at the Navy Chevy for Brad Keselowski.
Guys, we saw...
And they will put the caution out for the 5th time today because the 86 car of Antonio Perez has come to a halt over in the backstretch.
Well, that's too bad for Anthony Perez. He just had such a great run going on, and no problems all day long, all the way up to the 5th place. Perfect pit strategy, Ray, just like you were talking. He did everything textbook.
Well, he did. They pitted at lap 35, put on 4 tires, came in at lap 41, just gas and go under the green, picked up, and he was running competitively in 5th spot there. Right now, here we go. More caution, at least 2 laps of fuel savings.
Saving fuel, and caution flags breed caution flags, especially at the road courses when these guys, this intensity's building up. I'm telling you, they're getting wound up right now.
Let's show you what happened. They're really all clustered up there on that restart. There's the 86 car right in the middle of the racetrack. You see Kyle Busch go by, Clint Boyer make it by.
And it looks like Kyle Busch really got the bad end of that deal. He lost about 3 positions getting stuck behind the 86 car when that happened.
Looking at Eric Darnell.
Oh, wow, he just missed him. I'll tell you what, Perez did a good job kind of watching the mirror, almost moving out of people's way.
He did. I mean, he was mirror driving that thing for sure to get it off the racetrack because he almost got hit in the back. I mean, really hard. You saw the 17 car of Eric Darnell just about run him over at the last minute, dart to the right, got away from him. But boy, that was a tight quarters back there.
28 laps to go here at Mexico City. Scott Pruitt, Ruben Pardo. Boy, this place would erupt if Ruben Pardo could win this race. Scott Wimmer back there, David Reagan and Mike Bliss having another good run in the 1 car. Back with more in just a moment.
NASCAR fans, you're not in Martinsville anymore.
If Juan Pablo Montoya wins this race, he'll be here partying for 3 days.
Scott Pruitt, road course credentials excellent.
A fuel issue on the 42 car. What a huge disappointment here for Juan Pablo Montoya.
We had a fuel filler neck break into the trunk of the car, so we had to come in and pit.
Looks like they got the fuel hose out that went in the trunk. Juan Pablo Montoya is out and away.
And he was 20th. And I said, oh, don't give up on me yet. You know, there's plenty of time to get to the front.
I'm not going to give up. You know, if I have a chance to get past everybody, I'll tell you, I'll take it.
Juan Pablo looks to the inside. What a picture-perfect pass.
He's got Scott Pruitt, his teammate, his gun sights, and he's just going for it, man.
I was in the unenviable position of having running 1-2. And neither of those 2 drivers had ever won a Busch race.
Like I saw him behind me. It was like, all right, let's roll. And then we can just work it out the last couple laps. And I think he got a little more anxious than I would have expected.
And there's contact. Montoya and Pruitt come to get him.
He left the door open and went inside, and when I was there, he closed it. I tried to back out and couldn't get out all the way.
Of all the people to take you out, your teammate, I mean, that was just no good, low, nasty, dirty driving.
I found it really funny when he said that. I didn't came from 20th place to come and finish second after I passed 18 cars. I'd rather pass 19 and win the race.
Ladies and gentlemen, open up the NASCAR history books. Juan Pablo Montoya has won it here at Mexico City. What was a big day for Juan Pablo Montoya a year ago was a big disappointment for that driver, Scott Pruitt, who was wanting to win in NASCAR. Now, we asked Scott, you know, despite the disappointment here a year ago, what would it mean for you finally to get that first NASCAR victory?
A win in NASCAR is still one of my biggest achievements that I'd like to put on my resume. So, all the issues that happened last year and the bit of controversy doesn't change my desire to do and come away with the wins.
You got to believe, guys, as much as he has won and all over the world in all kinds of road racing, he's been an Indy 500 rookie of the race before, but he's yet to have that NASCAR trophy. It has to be special to him.
Well, Doc, a mistake would have to happen for him right now to lose this race. He's running so fast on the track. He's got enough fuel to make it to the end. He's one of the best road racers out there. He's leading the race. He's got clear track ahead of him.
And Doc, I got to work with Scott Pruitt several years ago when I worked for the IROC Series, and that was the best drivers in the world. And Scotty won some of those IROC races, and he deserved to be there.
Indeed he does, and he may just hang on and make history, be able to have that special day here today. Now, for you Carl Edwards fans, could it be deja vu? Remember, Edwards had to pit and go to the end of the longest line, so they only ran 1.5 laps of full green flag action, and Edwards actually made up at least a handful of spots. Let's listen into his radio.
New tires like stacks, man. That's pretty good stuff there. You're going to need them here. So he's restarted 25th, and we are 21st. 10-4, we'll get him here. We'll get him. This drive is 37 because he's going to get wrecked next time he cuts across my hood like that. I mean, I was there and totally knew it. That's with the Martinez.
With PK right now, and you know, some days your strategy is perfect and you're on top of this game. What happened here, PK, that really set you back? The caution came out, but did you need to run that extra lap for fuel, and should you have perhaps come in earlier when the other cars pitted?
It's hard to gauge when you're going to get a caution. You know, I mean, it's 2 weeks in a row now. Cautions have hurt us at the end, but you know, we just got to deal with the thing at hand, and we're going to go after it. And he's got a good race car, better tires, and enough fuel to get it to the end, so we're going after it.
Okay, they will race after it, and hopefully they have green flag laps too. They'd like to see green flag to run the other guys who are using fuel strategy out of fuel.
Dave, remember a year ago it was Juan Pablo Montoya who made the late stop, had fresh rubber, went all the way back to 20th position. Carl Edwards is 21st, and you know what Montoya did? He drove through him like a knife through butter and won it. Can Edwards get it done here? He's going to have to catch a very determined Scott Pruitt, Ruben Pardo, and Scott Wimmer at the head of the pack. Max Pappas, a 64 car, getting aggressive there. He's now showing back in the top 10, trying to gain some spots. Oh, contact. Ambrose is off the 25 car. Hit Pappas, damage on the left ass. Keselowski, Coleman, cars sliding all over in the grassy area off turns 1 and 2.
Boris said is tore up big time, guys. He's got the worst. So look at Max Pappas, left front fender. Caution flag is waving now.
And you know who's smiling? Ruben Pardo, because he pitted at lap 35. He probably needed 10 to 12 caution laps to make it. It's looking better and better for him.
Caution number 5, and there is Ruben Pardo, the 28-year-old Mexico City driver. He is from Mexico City, now lives part-time in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he told me yesterday, he said, we desperately need to have a good finish to get sponsorship so I can drive in this series in this car for the rest of the year. There's Boris Said, climbing out of his damaged car, one of the best road course racers, and in fact, after almost winning in Daytona in the Cup car a couple of years ago, one of the best racers, period.
He's got himself in a lot of trouble today. You know, had the brake problem earlier where he slid off the course and he got spun out earlier. Got in this one here. It looks like he got into it with Marcus Ambrose. Max Pappas gets tied up in it. This was a big one right here, guys. This is one that the caution flags seem to always breed caution flags, and I didn't expect that big a pileup right there, that's for sure.
Show you again what happened. 59 is Ambrose, right behind Boris Said.
You know, it actually looks like Boris just actually got a little bit loose getting into turn 1, Ray, and checked up a little bit, and Ambrose didn't have much area to go to.
Yeah, it looked like Boris was just a little bit sideways. Marcos was on him, and when Boris corrected to come back, he kind of hooked him and spun him down, and of course Max came along with nowhere to go.
And now watch Kyle Busch here. He just goes out of your screen there. He goes around this mess. There's Max Pappas just staying on the racetrack, and here comes Boris right across in front of him. He gets the heavy damage.
Now the tough part about this, guys, there's so much debris and so much dust, you just can't see anything. And that's the reason some of these guys got into. Look at that.
Now, coming back outside, clear to the bottom. Take a hard left and go. All clear. Work the high side.
Patrick Carpentier making a nice move to get around. There's Kelly Byers and Brad Keselowski just going off the course completely, skipping from turn 2 over toward turn 3 and 4.
I tell you what, when you leave this racetrack, there's nothing on the car clean. It's the dirtiest track when we leave, and it's too bad for Max Pappas. You see the engine overheating right now. had a good run going. Another good solid top 10 out of that 64 team.
Boris said, had told us before the day he had a good feeling this was going to be his day. He said, if I could get my first NASCAR road course victory, I'm going to shave these the set head completely off, and I'll come to ESPN and show everybody. It was not to be today for Boris as he walks away. Well, 55 of 80 laps are complete. And Boris a little bit angry here before he goes and gets in the ambulance. He is not a happy camper. Marcus Ambrose coming by there, and Boris venting his emotions.
Yeah, he's obviously upset at Marcus. I mean, I honestly think, guys, that was just a racing accident. I mean, I saw Boris get really loose, and although Boris didn't back into him, that's for sure, but he got awful tight there.
Well, we're going to see what's going to happen. Everyone's getting aggressive as we're getting closer to the checkered flag. Restart when we come back. The NASCAR Nationwide Series in Mexico City is presented by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. And in part by Tractor Supply Company, the stuff you need out here. Under caution for the 6th time today. 16 total laps, a real shunt among different cars down in turn 1. Boris said, and the 59 car of Marcus Ambrose, the 2 primary cars involved. There's the heavily damaged 25 Ed Renzi on the car. We'll see again what happened.
You know, it looks like Boris actually got loose as he exited turn 1 and slowed up a little bit. And Marcus Ambrose was just all over the back of his car and ended up hitting him and spinning him. And that's what Boris is so upset about.
Back it up a little bit more, see him going into turn 1.
See, Marcus hasn't touched him at all yet. He's just sliding the back of Boris's car. It whips back around, and that's when Marcus gets in the back of him. And man, all heck breaks loose now. You can't see anything, guys, with all that dust.
And so road rage continues on the road courses. Boris said is not happy with Marcus Ambrose and lets him know on the way by.
I'm glad he didn't throw that helmet. Those things cost about $2 grand.
It seems like
he held on to it.
Boris must have felt that Marcus was on the back of him. And by the way, Boris is 6'6". I don't know. I'd want to get him that mad.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But you know, you ever seen Marcus? He's pretty tough too. I mean, they're both tough. Boris and him.
While these guys are trying to simmer down, there's a lot of thinking going on among the lead cars and their crew chiefs about the fuel mileage game. We've seen a lot of caution flags. Can they make it? And what about the extra laps? Let's listen into the radio in the 40 car.
When the caution comes out, kick it in neutral and ride around till the caution car picks you up if you can. And Mark, caution car was just a little late driving through the hole down there. All right, bud, long gears. This is the caution we needed for our green-white checkered.
Very important, because if this race does go into overtime, they will be able to make it at this point. That's very good news for him. Another thing they talked about was Brad Parrott wants his driver to mix up the way he restarts. If guys behind you start seeing the same pattern all the time, they'll know how to jump you at the restart and beat you down to turn 1. So Scott needs to give him 2 or 3 options to look at and hold his cards until the very end on the final restart. Vince?
One of those teams that's been conserving fuel and keeping its nose clean all day is the 29 of Scott Wimmer. Pat Smith, you've conserved enough fuel to get to the finish. The question is, do you have enough to get past the current leaders?
You know, we haven't let him go race yet today, so just real proud of the Holiday Inn Express guys, and we're going to let him go race here. He's got a bunch of real good road races around him, so if nothing else, we'll come away learning something here, and we'll have fun. It'll be a good show.
Strap it on. Going to be an exciting finish, Doc.
Scott Wimmer, how about that? You know, he's never had a very good road course finish. He won the last time he's in the car. Could he make it 2 in a row? And how about Pat Smith? Great strategy by that Richard Childress crew and Pat down there making the call. Lucky dog in this caution flag. How about Adrian Fernandez having to come in to get all that damage repaired? He is the lucky dog. They let him go over about turn 4, so he's got to hustle around the racetrack. That's why he's sailing so quickly to catch up to the field to be able to get back. He will now be the 33rd car on the lead lap.
The one thing I really like what he's done, and they brought this thing under caution flags. It worked a lot on the right rear quarter panel, and they've actually got that spoiler back up in the air, which tells me this car might be back competitive again. I told you earlier I thought it was out. Hey, I just changed my mind. I think he's back at it again.
Now, last year we saw a very aggressive driver who wanted to win here so badly he just went charging into turn 1 and gave a little tap on the inside of Scott Pruitt. The second place car, Ruben Pardo, 28 years of age, in the 22 car for Armando Fitz. He told me, we need a great finish. We got to get a sponsor. We want to run the rest of these events. He's a former winner in the NASCAR East Series, won at Lime Rock, Connecticut a couple of years ago. Can he do it? How aggressive will he play it? Whoa, off the racetrack. Here comes Carl Edwards up through on the inside of Marcus Ambrose.
You saw Kyle Busch, I believe that was, Jerry, on the inside out in the dirt, just really throwing a lot of grass around and made it and got back on the track, but he passed to the left. That's legal.
Yeah, that's the green car of Kyle Busch instead of Carl Edwards going by. There's Wimmer now. Whoa, here goes Kyle Krisiloff around. Boyer and Coleman are off the course. 27-2. How about the 6 car of David Reagan getting the job done? Reagan now being shown in 3rd position.
And Doc, one of those guys that used that strategy. 4 tires at lap 35, gas and go at lap 41. They've got him some clean track position. He's doing a great job.
2007 Rookie of the Year for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Talking about David Reagan there, driving the Roush Fenway Ford. Right in front of Scott Wimmer.
Boy, they just need a couple laps under the belt to get away from each other because they're so close behind the pack here. They're running into each other, knocking each other sideways. There's sheet metal flying everywhere. Dust, dirt. I better throw that in, too.
Guys on the track and off the track getting aggressive here. Speaking of off the track, Mike is caught up with Boris. Hold on one second here, Mike. The 27 car, Brad Coleman, spins around off the track, and he had been one of the top 10 cars trying to get
it. Bud. Get it going if you can. Go flip tire, won't go.
Coleman trying to get it refired.
Switch your batteries over. Switch your batteries over. There you go. Keep going hard as you can.
Looked like he got hung up on that curb a little bit. Doc couldn't get it off.
Got up on the curb, couldn't get off. Now Pardo is getting passed now for 2nd spot by David Reagan, and maybe he will lose 3rd to Scott Wimmer. Whoa, contact. Reagan goes around.
Give it back, give it back, give it back.
And now he can't go anywhere. I mean, he pulls up, he'll get T-boned. He's got to back it off in the grass. There he goes.
So if you notice, NASCAR's not throwing a caution flag. They're keeping this thing green because he's out of the racing groove and getting his car refired, going again. Unlike you see in an oval track, you see a caution every time.
Look at Marcus Ambrose. He is now driven all the way back up to 4th position. It is Pruitt the leader, then Pardo in the 22 car, then Wimmer the 29. There is Marcus Ambrose, the 59. Behind him, the very aggressive Kyle Busch also trying to get there.
Well, I tell you, the guy in the fly right now is Carl Edwards, though he's all the way up in 12th position. He's picked up a lot.
Kyle Busch making a move inside of Marcus Ambrose for the spot. Patrick Carpentier also trying to use the open door.
And Carl's got those fresh tires that's gained so much grip right now. That car is just flat flying around this racetrack. We've been looking at the times. Definitely probably in the top 3 for speed right now.
Still 21 laps to go. Lots of time for Carl Edwards. Dave?
And Jerry, remember the key for Carl now is more cautions to bring the leaders back to him so that he can take advantage of those fresher tires and make his way by other cars.
Well, we told you what happened a year ago. Juan Pablo Montoya, the fresh tires made a big, big difference. 2nd spot, Pardo. And then he will lose that position to Kyle Busch. And here he comes charging back. Turn 4 has been a trouble spot. Let's see if they can make it through it. Pardo slides to the outside, and Kyle Busch and Carpentier and Ambrose will try to take a spot away from Pardo, but no, he slides back up in front of Ambrose.
You can really tell right now, guys, there's a lot of them sliding around big time, and Carl Edwards had to be right about the grip on these new tires because the fellows that pitted on lap 41 looks like they're really struggling with the grip on the tires right now.
When you walk around the garage area, everyone says that Marcus Ambrose is one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to be around. Very helpful to other drivers, trying to teach his teammate road racing. But you got to wonder now, he desperately wants to win. He said, this day is going to turn our season around.
Yeah, but take a look at this distance. Scott Pruitt, while this gaggle of cars behind him is racing like crazy, Scott has just checked out on the field with that clean air, that clean track. Nobody to race, just go.
Spreading out now 3 wide. You see Ambrose all the way down on the inside lane there. Right behind him is Wimmer. More on Ambrose with Vince.
Well, of course, it's been a great story for Marcus Ambrose to be at 5th at this point because he's come from the back a couple of times, and now we've got an incident on the track. We'll go back to Doc.
Pardo gets a little bit of a tap, and his car goes off the track. We were talking about aggression, and these drivers are going to have to do what they can do now to get a win. Pardo was sort of locked there by traffic, trying to get the car headed in the right direction. Adrian Fernandez going by.
Yeah, Marcus has had a fast car throughout the day, and it really handles good, but I think he just got a little aggressive here, guys.
That's Wimmer, the 29 car.
29 of Wimmer. I thought that was Ambrose getting there. I apologize for that. Very uncharacteristic of Scott Wimmer. It just goes to show you the track's real tight down there. Cars are sliding around a lot.
Yeah, we talked about road rage and how you're turning left and right. It's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of contact on the road courses. You think Scott Pruitt's in a hurry?
Well, he's out to about a 6-second lead, so if they get close, he can back way off of his throttle, much like Jimmy Johnson did last week at Phoenix.
And for you Carl Edwards fans, we were wondering how that strategy would work when they had to pit and go to the longest line. He is now being shown in the 8th position.
Guys, I'll tell you what, Scott Pruitt has almost got a ½ mile lead. This is a 3/4 mile long front straightaway. And they were just coming off a turn 8 as he was getting ready to go into 1. I mean, that's a huge lead he's got.
One of the drivers we thought would be a major contender today had a tough day all afternoon. Boris said, standing by with Mike.
And he just got out of the care center. He's fine, but the race car, not so good. What happened?
Well, I mean, Marcus Ambrose either made a big mistake or is incredibly stupid, and I don't think he'd make a mistake like that. So I'm a little disappointed. It's going to cost him a car one day, but I just feel bad for Ed Renzi and Ronnie Russell. They gave me a great car today, Smithfield Foods, Ford Fusion, and I feel bad for my sponsors. You know, No Pure Energy Drink, and we had Advanced Auto Parts on. So if you still have some fans out there, go to Advanced Auto Parts and buy No Pure Drink. And just disappointed. I don't wreck out of these much, and for a guy to turn me around like that on a restart to hook me with my left rear corner, it's I'm not going to get mad at him, but I'm going to get even. I'm going to go apologize to his crew chief for the car that he's going to have to fix one day.
Not to belabor the point, but what exactly happened?
Going down to turn 1, Marcus Ambrose just got in my left rear. I went through turn 1, and he just hooked my left rear and spun me around. I mean, he could have lifted any time, and he didn't. He just chose to, you know, root me out of the way, and that's fine. You know, just what goes around comes around, and I've never taken that from anybody, and you just better watch your mirrors.
Boris, thanks for your time.
What's that?
Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Obviously, Doc, you can hear Boris said some very pointed comments. Not happy at all.
Well, I tell you what, obviously they're upset with each other, but it looks like we saw it just a little bit different. I mean, unless he got it. Oh, Colin Brown.
The left front flat tire.
Pole sitter, left front down. He will limp that car back around the pit road. Thought he might have had a shot at a top 10 finish or better.
Looks like he might have had a fender rubbing there from some damage, Rusty, and giving him that flat tire.
Yeah, I just hate it for this kid. He's had a, sitting on the pole for this race, as young as he is, and just having to go out early like this for a young guy is just tough. They'll learn. Probably nothing he did wrong, though.
No, we're going to see a lot more of him up front, too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. This guy's the real deal. Hey, what about Patrick Carpentier? He's really coming through the field right now. I mean, he looks great out there in 3rd position. Looks like he's actually running Kyle Busch down a little bit.
Caution will be waved again because of some debris coming off the racetrack, coming off the 16 car. We were told some chunks, and so they're going to. There's what's left of that tire carcass that was cut down by the fender, and there's some of the debris on the racetrack. So NASCAR will put out the caution flag for the 7th time. And guys, another break for Carl Edwards.
And guys, we got another race going on too, because this last time by, Kyle Busch was actually 0.2 of a second faster than our leader Scott Pruitt. So this is one thing Pruitt didn't want to see with that big lead.
Yeah, he pulls away to half a straightaway lead and said, I'm feeling good, and suddenly looks in his mirror And now that guy, Brad Parrott, knows he's going to have to deal with a very aggressive Kyle Busch, Patrick Carpentier, and oh yeah, Marcus Ambrose, who said this is going to be my day, and he's proven it with a race car all afternoon.
Well, as a crew chief, you're sitting there and you've got a 6-second lead, everything's comfortable, and the caution flag comes out and wipes it out. You're thinking, God, I'm going to have to run that car. The driver's going to have to run that car a lot harder than I wanted him to.
He's a smart guy. He knows that never happens, where you can keep that big lead all day long on a road course, because somebody's going to spin out. But it just goes to show you how strong he is. I mean, on that last restart, guys, he really pulled out. Now Kyle Busch is behind him with a fast car, too, and that's what I want to see. I want to see what happens here, because they're both rocket ship fast, and so is Patrick Carpentier. In fact, he was almost identical speeds as Scott Pruitt was.
86 car gets the free pass, Antonio Perez. And he will get back on the lead lap. And here's the Patrick Carpentier car you were talking about. By the way, Patrick is going to auction off his helmet here on eBay for charity. The helmet he's wearing here at this special race, and he said, I'd like to be able to auction off a winner's helmet, and it's going for a very special charity.
It really is. You know, the people at Auto Value Bumper to Bumper will donate the money from that helmet to Cars for Charity, and what they do is provide cars to the victims of domestic violence.
There. 17 laps to go. Let's head down to Vince Welch.
That's just bullshit. I mean, that was just total BS. Cheap shot if I've ever seen it. And I wouldn't expect it from him. So you're the one I'm apologizing to. It's going to cost him the car.
Gary Coxdale, the crew chief for Marcus Ambrose. What was your impression from Marcus about what happened with Borisset?
I mean, he made a comment on the radio right away, you know, to make sure that they tried to find a spotter and have some language with him. I don't know exactly what happened. You know, you don't know. I don't know. Restart, a lot of cars, not a lot of room. We had a couple what we thought were kind of bad calls on the lineup after restarts. Maybe tempers flared on somebody's part. I don't know whose. I didn't see it. You know, I understand race car drivers, they get upset when stuff happens. I don't blame them for being upset, but I didn't see what happened.
Now you got a little bit of an issue with the car overheating. Is that true?
It'll be all right. It's under green flag, it gets up about 260, but motors are pretty tough. They'll tolerate that pretty well. It's cooling back down now under caution. Not going to have that many green laps. It's not pretty, but I think we'll make it.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Doc?
Obviously, a lot of anger inside of Borisset. Everyone talking about what a huge opportunity this was today. And we saw the replay, Rusty. Yet, you know, do you see contact anywhere? And Boris was adamant that he got tapped from behind entering turn 1 by the 59.
Well, right now, I don't see any contact. Now, we go away, and Boris gets loose right there. I don't know if he got tagged right at that point. That could have been, and that could have been the reason Boris was so upset. But as it went out of our camera angle, Jerry, Marcus was not into the back of him at that point.
But as a driver, don't you know if you've been hit behind from a car behind? I mean, you would know, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely you would know. And so that's one of the reasons he's probably so upset. Now, the other reason he's upset, this was a great opportunity race for Boris. He's a professional road racer. He's on a road course. He's running great. And now that opportunity is completely gone.
They're trying to get their Sprint Cup program together. And remember, at Daytona, he was the 9th fastest car qualifying for the Daytona 500, but because of the point situation in Sprint Cup, he did not make the show. He said, we have got to catch a break sometime with our race team. He thought it might be today, but obviously tempers flare, and very angry, Boris said. Now, if someone comes to you like that and talks to you as a crew chief, says, I want to apologize because I'm going to cost you a car, what do you say?
Well, you got to try and calm the guy down. There's no sense in getting a screaming match going on. And, hey, look, sports is about emotion. This is an emotional sport. These guys are athletes. They're out there trying. Tomorrow, Boris will probably calm down. He'll look at the replay. Maybe he'll have a little bit different view on it. Maybe not.
Gary Cogswell, longtime crew chief, very successful crew chief, kept his poise and composure, which probably was the best thing that could happen right there. We're talking with a very angry driver. And let's talk to another crew chief and see what he's thinking right now. How about the guy who's calling the shots for the leader, Scott Pruitt? Let's go down and hear from Brad Parrott.
And no anger here right now, Doc, although he just saw a big lead for his driver shrink down to almost nothing. Are you more concerned about Edwards' backaways with fresh tires, or guys like Busch and others who are up front now much closer?
Well, as hot as Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch has been, worried about both of them. But, whatever happens here the last 15 laps after we take green, the crew and this race team's done a phenomenal job. The Fastenal racing team is unbelievable. We've been in business for 40 years. We got car number 40, and I'm 40. So, you know, I don't usually tell my age, but I figured it'd work. But, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, our hearts are still with Bree. We lost a NASCAR official a couple weeks ago, and everybody else out there suffering in the world today.
This part of the family, Mike, it stays with you a long, long time. What's happening down your end?
Well, we're trying to get a hold of Dave Rogers and get his thoughts on running second right now. We had a conversation before the race about when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive at this road course. How aggressive are you telling Kyle to be?
It's time to go. We're real happy with this Tucson Toyota Camry. Real happy Kyle Busch. I think should be on a flatbed by now. It's been really rough on the restarts. But you got the 40 car and a really good driver, really fast car. You got the 9 car behind us. It's going to be a dogfight. Looking forward to it.
And you can never count this 20 car out, Doc. After all, he's on a pretty good winning streak. He's going for 3 in a row.
Exactly, he is, Mike. And by the way, let me just mention that our hearts and our thoughts go out to one of our family, one of our ESPN family not with us this weekend, Steve Shaw, battling a serious illness back in North Carolina. Steve, we know you're watching, and we know how much you mean to us and to the success in our coverage of NASCAR over the years. And we just wish you a speedy recovery and hurry back, buddy. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. We've got plenty of motorsports for you this weekend. In fact, just momentarily coming up over on ESPN2, the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Final Champ Car event of that storied season. Remember, they're going to merge the Champ Car and the Indy Racing League together. And Danica Patrick will be joining our broadcast crew as a guest, and we'll be able to hear from Danica if she flew over from Motegi after that big win, that landmark win for Danica in Japan last night. NASCAR Now tomorrow, 5:30 Eastern Time. And, of course, next Saturday from Talladega Superspeedway. I get chills thinking about going to Talladega, 3 wide, 4 wide, the speeds, and that great pass by Bobby Labonte a year ago of his teammate Tony Stewart in the final lap for the win.
And that brand new surface down there at Talladega, Jerry, is so grippy and so smooth. It's got all the cars handling together. I mean, handling very, very good, all of them, and that's brought them all really tight. So it's going to be a heck of a broadcast next week and a heck of a race, that's for sure.
And I bet you another guy's getting chills right now has got to be Scott Pruitt, knowing that he thought he had this one in the bag. And now, of all the people you've got in your rearview mirror, you got one Kyle Busch, who may be as talented as anybody that we have in the sport right now.
Yeah, as far as car control, this kid loves to race. Maybe he's got a shot at winning this nationwide championship, but he just wants to race every weekend. I will tell you, it is going to get interesting because I really do believe that the fastest cars are up front now.
What's going to happen? We saw a slugfest in the final laps a year ago. 15 to go. Here goes Kyle Busch following Scott Pruitt. Hammer down on the first straightaway. Busch going to the inside. Is he going to come across and make the move? Let's see. Here he comes. Pruitt cuts him off, and Busch hangs back in second spot. Carpentier and Ambrose mixing up back there for third position.
And look back at Carl Edwards. He just picked up another spot. He's just moved up to the 5th position now himself. So Carl, those new tires and all these caution flags are really helping him.
We told you there were 3 very good passing zones, usable zones. This is one of them right here in the S's. Watch for Ambrose to make a move, trying to get inside of the 9. But Patrick Carpentier not giving any room on the inside of that curve.
Patrick looks like he's a little bit tight. He's taking kind of a wide entry there, so maybe the car will come to him.
Well, in this restarts, Ray, you get a lot of tire buildup on the tires, a lot of rubber builds up on them. The cars slide all over the place for a while until you wear that stuff off. Then they start handling again. But boy, I tell you, 1 or 2 laps, sometimes it's tough to hold on to these things.
You take that wide entry and leave the inside open, you have a chance of getting spun out, hitting the quarter panel.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, you see Kyle Busch right now, just on the bottom of this racetrack, all over the bumper of Scott Pruitt. You know, like we said earlier, he was actually faster than Pruitt about 5 laps ago before we had this caution.
Kyle Busch has tires that are 6 laps fresher. Does that make a difference?
It's not going to hurt you, that's for sure. I mean, I want the freshest tires I can get. Although Kyle earlier in the 30-lap run didn't fall off that much, which led me to believe that tires, you know, are important. But on that 20 car, he didn't have much problem with older tires.
Yeah, but guys, Carl Edwards had the fastest lap by that time, and he's got 5 or 6 lap fresher tires than those other guys.
Yeah, Carl Edwards, he's about, as we're watching right now, about 0.4 of a second faster than anybody on the track right now. So he's definitely going to march forward. Looks like he's running down Marcus Ambrose right now.
Whoa, here's contact with Kyle Busch on the right rear of Scott Pruitt. Scott says, not again. I need to hang on to win this thing. Last year it was Juan Pablo Montoya. This year, could it be Kyle Busch?
Well, you can see Scott working that wheel, too. He is driving that thing.
It's going to be hard. I don't really think that Scott's going to be able to pull away from him just because Kyle's been faster. And he's probably trying to get some distance, get that tire pressures back up on that Fastenal Dodge, and try to get some distance. But he just can't shake Kyle at all right now.
A couple of years ago, Kyle Busch, in his only visit here, spun the leader, Michel Jourdain Jr., right there, coming out of turn 7, and it was not a very happy crowd pulling for their Mexican favorite driver when Busch had tapped the leader from behind.
Absolutely right. But I remember last year right there in turn 7 and 8 areas where Montoya was doing all the passing right on the bottom of the track, and that's where Kyle's at now. He's got a great handling car now.
Carl Edwards looking to the inside, sneaking a peek beneath Ambrose, and can't get the spot.
Boy, that's a gutsy move for Kyle Busch to try to make a pass on the outside, getting down into turn 1, but looks, Ray, like he's able to make it stick and dart across and try to drive up underneath him that way.
Yeah, Kyle's car, when you can see a car stay on the bottom like that, it's normally a sign of a better handling car, but we're seeing some great road racing. The top 5 cars basically nose to tail.
Yeah, they can't get away from each other right now.
Kyle Busch looking for an opening. Did he get it from Pruitt on the inside? Busch has got the inside, but they got to go back to the left, and it'll be Pruitt's advantage in the S's.
But now they got to go back to the right. He's got the groove right now. Oh, that's so close.
Ambrose getting the inside advantage and takes a spot away from Carpentier. Tell you what, if Marcus Ambrose doesn't win this race today, that crew should pat him on the back. He has driven as aggressively as I've ever seen him in a stock car.
You know, we talk about how aggressive he's been all day long, but when you look at his car, it's really not tore up that bad.
Carl Edwards trying to make a move.
Yeah, he's going underneath of Patrick Carpentier right now. Oh, whoa. A little bit of contact there, guys.
Carl got down. They got really sideways, guys. He got loose and got up into Patrick Carpentier. Almost took them both out.
Well, a drag race there, but Carl's got the preferred line getting into 1.
Yeah, it's obvious that Carl's car is better than Patrick's car is right now, and you just have to give way on entry of 1 under these conditions.
A little bit of tire smoke out of Ambrose in front of this group, and that's going to give Edwards a chance to catch Ambrose.
And that was a good move out of Patrick Carpentier. He just fell right back in line behind Carl Edwards. Knew he couldn't do anything with him. Gave him the line. Smart driving.
He's got to let his brakes and tires cool off a little bit. There's still 12 laps to go and see if he can make a run at these guys.
Oh, here's Kyle Krisiloff off the course in the 41 car. Kyle had really good finishes here in the top 15 a year ago. There's a 17 car also off. That's Eric Darnell out of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
And NASCAR still says no way. Green flag, we're still going because these guys are out of the racing groove. In fact, these guys were way back in the pack, didn't hurt anything. Dave?
Well, guys, the game now for Scott Pruitt, if Kyle Busch gets that close again, is which line do you protect, especially going down into turn 1? You saw Kyle attempt to maybe take a look at that outside line going into turn 1. That's so he could have the advantage on that next turn. So which line does Scott protect, outside or inside, if Kyle gets there? Mike?
This battle challenging the patience and the makeup of a very aggressive young driver in Kyle Busch. The blocking that's been going on by Scott Pruitt has really seemingly gotten under the skin of Busch. A radio transmission just a lap ago, he said he's going to lose. He's really mad, and he's going to spin him out. He basically said that. I cleaned it up a little bit, but Kyle Busch not very happy. Vince?
Marcus Ambrose is running in 3rd, and he's trying to hold off a charging Carl Edwards. As much as Ambrose would like to win this race today, he's also focused on the big picture of the championship and how hard this team has had the early going with so many bad breaks. They want a good finish today, especially with the bad luck they've had, so he won't battle too hard for Edwards if it's going to cost him too many positions. Doc?
Yeah, Marcus Ambrose, best finish of the year this year was 11th in Atlanta. He has yet to get a top 10 after that great run and near win a year ago at Montreal. Ron Hornaday, by the way, off course in the Kevin Harvick-owned car.
Looks like a right front flat tire this time, Doc. And again, maybe damage from the fender cut that tire.
Brian Simo, the former Trans Am champion, getting his Chevy refired.
Doc, that's a good thing, if there's any good thing at all, about if you get in turn 1 too deep, you can slide and really not hit anything. There's a lot of runoff room into turn 1 where these guys just lost it.
Looks like Pruitt now beginning to put a little distance between himself and Kyle Busch after Busch just gave him all he could stand there for about 2 or 3 laps. Possible issues with Patrick Carpentier. Mike?
Yeah, Doc, we documented a while ago that they were having some overheating problems. Temperatures reaching 230 degrees. Well, it finally has begun to bite them. They were running third 2 laps ago. They've dropped back and have lost significant power. They are overheating.
Well, Doc, if you look, the nose of that car's caved in, and the way we build the ductwork in those cars, what's probably happened is it's crushed the nose. It hasn't really blocked anything, but it's popped the ductwork loose, and it's allowing the air pressure to escape out the sides rather than go through the radiator. It's also probably taken some front downforce away from that car.
And there's a lot of work that goes into putting the ductwork behind your radiator in the rate. The way you make that air flow, and if it gets blocked off, it's like you said, it can overheat big time.
And you've got that perfectly sealed up with silicone, and as soon as you crack it open, you're going to raise the temperature in the radiator.
These drivers, huh? You just can't trust them to take care of your stuff, huh?
No, you know, Patrick has done a really good job for us all year, though. You know, he deserves a pat on the back. He has improved tremendously as an oval racer, as well as just a great road racer.
He has done a great job, and Patrick Carpentier just shocked a lot of people sitting on the pole in his inaugural visit to the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Montreal last year, and nearly won that race. Coming up next, Sports Center will update all scores and highlights from around the sports world at the conclusion of our race here at the NASCAR Nationwide Series in Mexico City.
Ray, about how hot can these engines get before you just can't run them any longer on the track?
Well, Rusty, you know that we're running these things. Sometimes they can go to 240, 250 degrees without damaging the motor, but about 225 degrees, 230 degrees, you start to lose horsepower. And we're down on power already with the plate and the altitude, so it's probably really hurting that car.
Pruitt, the interval there between he and Kyle Busch, about 2 car lengths. Now, if you're Marcus Ambrose, you're wanting Kyle Busch to catch Pruitt and maybe give him a little tap and both those guys spin. How about old Clint Boyer now moving up into the picture? He's the points leader coming into this weekend. Dave.
And doing what he needed to do today as that leader, Doc, through the dust and the debris and a little caved-in right front fender there for Clint as well. He stayed on the racetrack and done what they had to do by making this a good points day. They had that attitude coming in. They had a brand new race car that was fast, but they also knew they had to stay out of trouble because their big picture is a championship, and Busch has gone around Pruitt for the lead.
Kyle Busch gets around Pruitt for the lead. Oh my. Now, can Busch pull away? And what about Pruitt? Is he really going to have to get really aggressive on that wheel?
Well, it looks like Scotty just did all he possibly could to hold him back, but Kyle's car was just faster, guys. We're watching the lap times, and Scott would be faster one time than Kyle another time, but the guy's fastest right now is Marcus Ambrose.
It looked like Scott Pruitt was pulling away a little bit and then it backed up within a couple of car lengths in front of Kyle Busch, and suddenly Busch goes by and takes the lead now and seems to be pulling away. There's about a 4 or 5 car length separation now between him and Pruitt.
Yeah, right now, Kyle Busch and Marcus Ambrose are running the fastest laps on the racetrack.
Now, I'm telling you, Ambrose isn't done with these guys yet. He is really closing in on, and that's exiting turn 3 right there. Down the short back straightaway here at Mexico City. This is about 150-mile-an-hour straightaway. Go downshift to third gear, second gear right there. You see the shift of flames coming out of the back of Kyle's car when he's shifting.
All 3 years, the leader of the most laps here, and this race has gone on to win it. Today, that would be Pruitt, who has led twice for 36 laps, but right now he is not leading. Kyle Busch in the 20 car, trying to make it 3 in a row, one winning at Texas, winning at Phoenix, and trying to get his very first ever road course victory in NASCAR.
You know, it looks like Carl Edwards has actually closed in a little bit on him, but he lost it, and he's gained it back and forth. That big gain he had on the tires, guys, it looks like it's pretty well leveled off right now.
Carl Edwards probably trying to figure out, what am I going to do with this guy in the 59 car? I mean, I know Marcos Ambrose probably have been told how aggressive he is being. I mean, and Carl looking at the big picture for a championship, how careful he's got to be.
Well, Jerry, if you look at the lap times right now, he's got to be careful, but he's got to be aggressive also. But the top 3 cars, just that last lap by, ran exactly the same speed. So we got a real equal field right now.
Top 3 cars were the same, but Cousin Carl was 0.3 faster. He about had a pass just then, had to get on the brakes really hard behind the 59. You know, what's great about this place with this many turns, one lap, you know, Ambrose is fast, Pruitt, Busch, and for the past 2 laps in a row, Carl Edwards has been there.
You know, it looks like Carl Edwards on the entry of turn 7. If he can keep that car on the bottom of the racetrack right there, is where he's going to be able to get ahead of Ambrose.
Here's one of those passing zones. The S is now coming out of turn 4, headed to turns 5 and 6. Still single file.
It looks like that top 4 has kind of driven away from the 9 and the 2 car right now, and maybe they're going to settle that between themselves. Kyle Busch has got about a 3 or 4 car length lead on Pruitt, though.
Now, if Carl can get right on the bumper of Marcos Ambrose exiting turn 6, right there, guys, if he can stay tight to him, dart to the right, keep that car in the bottom of the track, that's a great position to try to make the pass.
Now, coming out of turn 8, that's where Edwards has been so good, using that Roush Fenway, that Roush Yates engine horsepower. He just pulls the 59 down the straightaway. But does he have enough to get there? He almost did it last time. See if he'll come to the inside.
Well, I don't know. One thing I think we need to remember, Doc, the 59 car, I believe, has got Roush Yates horsepower, too.
Another big passing zone come up the entry of turn 1.
There they both come looking to the inside of Scott Pruitt in the 40 car.
Well, 3 wide.
And the 59 of Ambrose takes the spot away. Pruitt loses the cover of his rear bumper.
Looks like he just got his rear bumper nipped off when Marcos Ambrose got past him. Now that might be something NASCAR pull him off the racetrack for, with that thing flopping like that, but with 6 laps to go, they might let him slide. You know, Ray, when these bumpers actually fall off these cars, I've heard they actually make more downforce, and their car actually handle better.
Absolutely does. With that rear bumper gone, it's allowing the air to follow that pan that you see out the back straight up, and actually brings more air over the top of the spoiler.
Marcos Ambrose behind this, you know, in front of this, I should say. We were all watching that bumper cover on Scott Pruitt's car. We've seen on ovals, we've seen guys go up and tap a guy behind and get that piece to come off.
Well, I'll never forget one year at Charlotte Motor Speedway that happened to Jeff Gordon. The car wasn't running good, and the bumper cover flew off, and he just drove off in the sunset and told everybody after the race, I'm glad that cover fell off. Made our car handle better.
Yeah, I think he was junk for quite a while. That cover came off, I believe, ran second that day.
That's right, you were the crew chief then, weren't you?
Best laid plan.
I don't think I was the crew chief on that one.
And I think I'm the one that hit him in the back.
More on Marcos Ambrose in the 59. Vince?
Well, they just hit him on the radio to let him know there's 5 laps to go. But for Ambrose, even if he isn't able to catch Kyle Busch, it'll be victory today. Remember, he qualified 4th, but had to start at the back because they changed the clutch. Then they had a pit lane penalty. Again, had to go to the back of the field. Ambrose, who's had such tough luck all season long, it's almost like a victory for him today to have a top 5 finish and a challenge for the victory. Dave?
Vince Scott Pruitt just radioed his crew, gave them some insight as to why he's falling back. Out of tires, he says, I feel like I'm sliding all over the place. And remember how hard he had to race Kyle Busch just to hold on to the lead earlier. That used up his stuff, allowed Busch by when the time was right. Mike?
Kyle Busch has been resistant about the question he's been asked week after week, and that question being, will you run for the championship? He said it is a consideration, but only if he continues to get on a winning streak. If he goes to victory lane today, it'll be 3 in a row, and that question will most certainly be asked once again. He said if he is able to rattle off these wins, the door is certainly open to running for the title this year, guys.
Yeah, he was hemming and hawing when he was talking to us in the garage area yesterday. Are you going to run the full season? You lead the Craftsman Truck Points. You have a chance to win the championship here. And you know what he told us? Those guys are going to be awful tough to beat here. Clint Boyer and Carl Edwards. He said, but you know what? I might consider it.
But you know, he also told us yesterday too, Jerry, that his car is running so good, based on what's happened the last couple of years, he feels as though he could almost miss 4 races and still win this title. But then it's, no, wait a minute. I think Clint Boyer's running way too good to do that.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick could have done that a couple of years ago, and Edwards maybe could have missed a couple last year. Talking about Kyle Busch, has won back-to-back in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. at Texas and Phoenix last week, trying to get his first ever road course victory. And behind him, Marcos Ambrose, by the way, his career best finish was 4th at Memphis a year ago. And as you heard the comment a moment ago about Ambrose from Vince, this would be a moral victory. Yeah, they had to start at the back of the pack because of an adjustment. They had a pit road violation. But right now, Marcos Ambrose doesn't want to hear anything about moral victory.
No, he doesn't want to hear anything about that. In fact, I just watched Carl Edwards as you were saying that, Jerry. Really a lot of smoke coming off the tires in that car. It looks like I said earlier, it looks like the grip has gone away on his car. And look how these guys have just pretty well stabilized right now. The times are almost identical.
Marcos Ambrose did gain just a little bit on Kyle Busch that lap, but with only 4 laps to go, it might not be enough.
Cars on the lead lap. The last car on the lead lap is Kyle Krisiloff. It is Kyle Busch, Marcos Ambrose, Scott Pruitt, Carl Edwards, Patrick Carpentier is 5th. Clint Bowyer, points leader, back in 6th. Scott Wimmer having a great one today in the top 10 and 7th. Brad Keselowski is 8th. How about Stephen Wallace back in 9th spot? That could be that kid's first career top 10 finish if he could hang on in the NASCAR Nationwide Series.
Yeah, now that makes his father a little bit nervous too, because he's got the one car of Mike Bliss right up his tailpipe, and as long as he just stays cool, he'll be just fine. He'll get his first top 10, and that'll be great.
3 to go. If you're calling the shots for Marcos Ambrose, who's trying to run this guy down, what are you saying to him? What are you thinking about?
Hey, go as fast as you can. Keep doing what you're doing. Try not to make a mistake. If Kyle makes a mistake, Marcos is going to be right on him. Just keep the laps winding down. But as you said before, no matter what happens, he has had a great day. He's had the day that he needed to have today.
You know what I heard you say all the time on the radio to Jeff Gordon, year after year after year? 2 words: be smooth. Be smooth. You never talked about hurrying up or hustling the car. You just told him to be smooth. And that looks like you can't get much smoother than Marcos Ambrose is right now.
And Doc, I don't want to jinx anything at all, but these guys are being smooth right now with 3 laps to go. I don't see anybody piled on top of each other at the moment. And they're just wanting to get this thing over right now because they've had a lot of caution flags. A lot of damage out there.
More on Marcos Ambrose and Vince.
Whether Ambrose is able to catch Kyle Busch or not, only time will tell as the laps are winding down. Less than 3 to go, but he's been quicker each of the last 3 laps. In his past lap, over 1/10 of a second quicker than Kyle Busch. 2 more laps to go. Can he catch him?
Well, you know he's trying. I mean, we'll watch his laps times. And that time they're about 1/2 of a second faster. Nothing big time faster, just a little bit.
2 to go. Marcos Ambrose, a young man who came from Tasmania, which is an island just south of Australia. Came here as a rookie a year ago, and everyone was just loved the fact that he had a great attitude and very congenial in the garage area. He said, I'm here to learn, guys. I don't know much. I've been a road racer. Went to Europe, had a chance to try some of the Formula One prep schools. Impressed a lot of people in Europe with his road racing skill and said, would you want to consider staying here, running Formula 3000, maybe being a Formula One test driver, but he wanted to have a chance to come to the U.S. and drive stock cars.
Hey, for the folks that haven't had an opportunity to talk to Marcos, he's one of the nicest fellas on the circuit. Real appreciative to get this ride. Loves being in NASCAR. But I've seen the other side, too. When he gets mad, you don't want to be around him. It's just like race car drivers. You get the temper up, hey, watch out.
This Tad Schechter team, good day for them. You know, they're one of the teams that doesn't really have a Cup Series affiliation.
No affiliation whatsoever. They used to have a little bit with the Woods brothers, the 21 car. Looks like doesn't have that much of affiliation any longer now. But doing a great job.
White flag for Kyle Busch.
White flag. 8/10 to the lead. 8/10.
Ambrose has got 2.5 miles to get there. Carl Edwards trying to make a move. Can he get by for 3rd spot, or does he risk it here on the final lap?
Well, it looks like Scott Pruitt is just barely holding on for dear life right now because Carl Edwards is just all over him again. Can't seem to shake him.
Kyle Busch trying to go for 3 wins in a row in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. What a talent this kid is from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Jerry told us he didn't put any effort into this. He just showed up. He loves racing cars. And this 20 car, it's just been a fantastic car every time. Any driver gets in this car. This Dave Rogers is an incredible crew chief.
The 40 car locked up the brakes, getting in the corner, and the 60 car's all over him right now.
Yeah, Carl Edwards trying to get by. Almost had a shot on the inside of Scott Pruitt, dragging that rear bumper cover. Final time through the S's, and Pruitt now pulls Edwards by about 4 car lengths.
Exit of turn 6. It's the final turn before they get to 7, which brings you right to the start-finish line, guys.
Turn 7, wide open, Kyle Busch. His second trip to Mexico. And the kid from Las Vegas, Nevada will become the 4th different winner for NASCAR's Nationwide Series in Mexico. Ambrose finishes second.
You boys are awesome. Thank you, thank you. You guys are so awesome.
Scott Pruitt will get 3rd, Carl Edwards 4th, Patrick Carpentier 5th, Clint Boyer 6th, Scott Wimmer 7th, Brad Keselowski 8th, Mike Bliss 9th, and Stephen Wallace 10th.
Oh, Kyle Busch in Mexico City, boys. That's what I'm talking about. Woo!
Mike?
Crew Chief Dave Rogers celebrating with his team. There was a lot of agonizing going on over when to make that final pit stop. In hindsight, it proved to be the right plan, but how difficult was that?
It's so difficult. The way you win a road course is make a plan before the race and stick to it. But it is the toughest thing in racing to do. I want to really thank Doosan. They come on board for a one-race deal. And man, I want to thank everyone. It's great. Special thanks to Doug Hewitt at the shop. He makes all this happen for Jason Ratcliffe, myself, and all the 18 and 20 guys. This is fun, man. I love Mexico.
It's always fun when you win 3 in a row, Doc.
3 in a row, and 22-year-old Kyle Busch posts his 14th victory in his 117th start. He started 3rd and scored his 3rd consecutive victory. His first victory in Mexico and his 2nd start down here. Again, I mentioned he's the 4th different winner in as many races, and he becomes the 15th different driver in NASCAR Nationwide Series to win on a road course here. There have been 21 events on road courses, 15 different winners.
And Doc, 3 different wins for him, 3 in a row at 3 different types of racetrack, completely different tracks. This guy is so good this year. You know when you're hot, you're just hot.
How about best career finishes for Marcus Ambrose in 2nd spot? Scott Pruitt, a best career finish of 3rd, and Stephen Wallace, a career best 1st ever top 10. Good job, Stephen, here on the road course in Mexico City.
He does one of the best burnouts, too. Every time this kid wins, I mean, he lights them up big time, and these fans in Mexico are going crazy right now.
Oh, you gotta love it. He'll come out and he's got to give you that bow. He loves that bow. On top of the car, turn to the fans. Oh, he's just going to jump into the team. Kyle Busch, what an effort. You don't think these fans in Mexico are passionate about their NASCAR stock car racing? Here he runs down. Coming for that flag. And while we watch the celebration, Dave is caught up with Scott Pruitt.
And Doc, I know he wishes that those cheers were for him. So much went well today, Scott. What happened near the end of the race?
Well, we were struggling with the setup. The Fastenal call ran great, but we just didn't quite have the setup. I had my family at home. We were just, so we gambled. We gambled with coming in early. Our tires were just a little bit too used up at the end. But all I can ask you guys did a great job. We got what we could, and you know what? We came out of it with the whole car intact, not one fender ripped off. So it was a good day.
They tweak on it, maybe they'll be even that much better at Montreal, Vince.
Well, Marcus Ambrose says if he'd had a couple of more laps, he might have gotten Kyle Busch today. But I got to ask you, as you came from the back twice, you had the one incident with Boris said he was very upset. Take us through what happened in that.
Oh, man, we just done a tough all day. We started the back, had a penalty, went back to the back again, miscalculated fuel mileage, made an extra pit stop. So I'm real proud of my guys, real proud of Kingsford. 2 laps we would have got Kyle for sure, but just really proud of our effort. But I do want to say sorry to Boris. You know, I didn't mean to get into him. I don't know whether we just hooked up. I wasn't into him at all. I just, for some reason, my front of my car just hooked his car and turned him around. So I can't do anything but say sorry. If I could take it back, I would. But we're really proud of our day, proud of Kingsford, proud of my team, and we're having a good day.
Career best finish. He's smiling today, Marcus Ambrose. Dave?
4th place finish for Carl Edwards after what looked like it might be impossible to get anywhere near the lead at the end of this thing. Carl, how much fun was that racing through everybody?
I told him that's the most fun I've had you know, in my clothes for a long time. I had a really good time, and just really proud of the water smart guys, Scott, Spotted Water, everybody. My crew did a great job, and it's just too bad we got caught up on that caution, but we got to fight back, and my hat's off to Kyle Busch and you know, and everybody on that 20 team. They did a great job. That's 3 in a row for them. So the good thing is that's 2 weeks in a row we've had a car that could win, and that's good. That's good.
And it was a good points day as well for the 60 team here in Mexico City. To Mike in Victory Lane.
And Dave, the beginning of Kyle Busch's season was defined by frustration and disappointment. The last 3 races, though, the complete opposite. A 3-race winning streak for Kyle Busch as he gets out of the car here and celebrates with the folks here in Mexico City. Victory again for Kyle Busch, and wow, how things have changed in just a matter of months. How would you compare where you are right now to where you were in March?
I don't know. It's a pretty phenomenal job by these Joe Gibbs Racing guys. They do such an awesome job. I got to thank Doosan for coming on board with us this week, and Toyota for making it possible. And, you know, it's just awesome to be able to come down here. Everybody wants to come down to Mexico for this trip and win it. And only one guy gets to go home with the trophy, so glad it's us.
All right, we're going to put you on the spot. You've been non-committal all year about running for this championship. You said if you got on a winning streak, you might consider it. You're on that winning streak. Will you run for this championship?
The consideration's there, but still, it's one race-by-race deal. We're not going to let anything out of the bag quite yet, but I'm not even sure if there's anything left in the bag to let out. So we've still got some races to fill and whatnot, but we'll make a decision here hopefully shortly. I love winning. I'll win as long as we can win. You know, that doesn't bother me one bit. So once again, thank Doosan, Joe Gibbs Racing Oil, all the guys back at the shop, everybody, engine shop, trans and gear shop this week, and just awesome.
And Kyle Busch wins 3 in a row. He's still 3rd in the standings, but that door is still open for him, maybe running for this championship.
Thanks, Mike. And next week, the Nationwide Series. It's the Aaron's 312 at Talladega. Coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown at 2:30 Eastern on ABC. Now, coming up next is SportsCenter. But for you race fans, remember, over on ESPN2, the IndyCar Series Toyota Grand Prix at Long Beach has just gotten underway. Again, congratulations to our winner, Kyle Busch, 3 in a row and first ever on a road course in NASCAR. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. So long, everybody, from Mexico.